Yeah, this is case number 258 on the calendar, the matter of Pearson versus Carrico. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Pearson, the defendant is your daughter.
Correct.
And your stepdaughter, sir.
That's right. We call her daughter because we've always called daughter, never used the word step.
But you are not her biological father.
Right.
Did she always live with you?
No, ma'am.
Who did she live with?
When John and I got married in 1998, she was a senior in high school, and she didn't want to leave her senior year in high school to move to Florida with us. So I let her live with her grandparents, her father's parents.
So she lived with her paternal grandparents.
Correct.
Last year in high school. Then, according to your papers, she came to live in Florida with you.
She moved out with her grandparents, and then she moved in with her father, and then she got mad at her father, and she left her father, and she was living from friend to friend to friend to friend's house. She didn't have a permanent address.
Whatever, so she came to live with you.
Then she came to live with us, correct.
Your complaint says that she owes you for certain things, because evidently she didn't stay in your house very long. She moved out, and while she was there, she had some dental work. So you say she owes you for her dental work?
Correct.
She owes you for some car insurance?
Correct.
And telephone bill. Okay. When did you go and live with your parents?
June of this year. I moved down there because my mother was sick and I wanted to make a new beginning for myself, so I moved down there to help my mother.
But things weren't going so smoothly for you.
Well, when I moved down there, I did not know anybody, and
No. When you were living with your father and your grandparents, things weren't going so smoothly, is my question.
My stepmother just caused a lot of problems between me and my father.
Did there come a time then that you moved out of your father's house? Were you living with various friends for a while?
I lived with 2 roommates.
Now, you came down in June, and then you started to have some problems with your teeth. Tell me about it.
I moved down there and I started having excruciating pain in my mouth and swelling, and my mother agreed to take me to the dentist.
Just answer my questions. When was this that you started to have this excruciating pain?
About 2 weeks after I moved down there.
And how old were you at that time?
20.
Were you working?
Not at that time, no.
So you took her to the dentist,
Correct.
and she had what kind of problem?
She had wisdom teeth impacted, and one of them in particular, but they all needed to come out.
So what did you tell her?
So it was my husband's thing. He said, we can't leave her in pain.
Absolutely.
He said, Amanda made a big deal, Your Honor, about being emancipated. So she got herself emancipated the year before. So we told her, you emancipated yourself, you're responsible for your own bills.
Just to say, tell me about the dentist. What did you say to your daughter about taking care of the teeth?
We told our daughter before we took her to the dentist that we agreed to take her to the dentist to help her. We also told her it was not a gift, it was a loan. She would have to start paying us back when she got a job.
Did that happen?
They told me that I would have to pay them back, and I said, I cannot afford it. I will wait for my insurance from my new job. And they said, no, we cannot leave you in pain.
That's not true.
That we would help you, and when we're down the road, when we're old and need bread and Velveeta cheese, as John said, I could pay them back that way by getting that for them.
What kind of job were you expecting?
I was waiting to hear back from a physician's complex as a referral coordinator, Your Honor.
Did you get that job?
Yes, I did.
Are you still working there now?
No, I do not.
Lost it.
Shh. Okay. Now tell me about the car.
Okay. Amanda was working for this major physician's place in Orlando. I've been very ill and been diagnosed with some severe medical problems, but I was getting up every day, taking her back and forth to work, picking her up from work. My husband thought it was taking too big of a stress on me, and it truly was. So we agreed, we talked to Amanda, because at this point in time, she was doing everything. She was going to work, she was paying off her bills in Indiana, she was doing, basically what she needed to do as a responsible young adult. So she could not get a car on her own. And so my husband and I, we did not want our name on the title of the car. So therefore we chose not to co-sign a loan for her because she has wrecked so many automobiles in the past. And we didn't want to be sued if she wrecked this one. So we took money out of our savings. And
How much?
$7,700 some dollars.
$7,700 and some odd dollars.
And you purchased her a car?
We purchased her a car with the 3-year warranty, bumper to bumper.
And that was clearly a gift?
No, ma'am. That was...
Well, that's what I thought parents were for.
It's not part of this suit because it's a contract agreement.
Which she signed.
Okay.
So
you
she
purchased this car.
$254 to us a month for her car payment, just like she would if she borrowed from a bank or lending institution. And we even only charged her the interest that we was losing off our savings account. We wasn't making money off of her or nothing, just the interest we lost off the savings. So she had a very low interest rate. She has yet to make one payment.
I don't feel that I need to.
Well, I'm not getting into the car because the car is something that you say is not part of the suit, but certainly you are claiming the insurance.
Correct.
Did you pay the full year's insurance at one
Yes,
time?
before, because in the state of Florida, you have to have at least 2 months worth of insurance before you can even take the car off the lot. There again, she had no money.
So how much did you lay out for the insurance?
The insurance came to $404.26.
Okay. And the last bill is phone bill.
Oh, Your Honor. Your Honor, my daughter loves to talk. There's no doubt about it. When she was living in Indiana, my father co-signed to get her a cell phone bill. She ran it up to over $600. That's on her
My
credit
cell
report.
phone bill was that much because I cut the contract.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
So when she came down here to live with us, she started getting involved with the internet people. And this is why she's mad. Because she got involved with people off the internet and she would call them constantly on the phone. Three-way calling, regular calling, whatever. And she ran our phone bill up to a grand total of $690.32.
No.
Then, Your Honor, she had the audacity before she left to say, well, she paid $100 before, and then she says, she wrote us a check, and right here it is, $250, and then she gave us $50 in cash, and then she was going to pay us the rest. She stopped payment on the check.
Because of the way I was being treated. I do not feel that my
so
mother should sit there and let my stepfather call me a slut and tell me that he thinks the only reason I'm on the internet is because I'm so hard up for sex that I have to meet people off the internet.
Oh,
And when I
that's
looked
not true,
at him
Amanda.
and told him I was not a slut, he goes, well, it doesn't sound like that to me. And then time after time told me that I do not deserve to live in their house, that I belong out on the streets, and he's this close from kicking me out where I belong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly and John Pearson are suing Kimberly's daughter, Amanda Carrico, for unpaid bills. Amanda says they filed the lawsuit because they don't agree with her lifestyle.
Okay. Sounds to me as if when you came down to live with your mom and your stepfather, they really tried to do what was right in order to get you on your feet. You're 20 years old, still a baby. You have to understand that, Miss Pearson. Still a baby.
Correct.
20, going on 12. I want to tell you something. I have tremendous sympathy for you with regard to two of the bills that you talk about. One of them is for the car insurance.
Correct.
And one of them is for the phone bill.
Right.
Because God knows I've seen some of those in my time. Not mine. Me, take care of your business, no adjectives, no adverbs. You finish your conversation, you go, but I've had teenagers, and they can sit and talk about the color of the moon for 6 hours. I don't have a heck of a lot of sympathy over the dental bill, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as a parent, even when you're talking about a 20-year-old child, she doesn't have any money, and she's in excruciating pain. You don't first negotiate with her that when she gets a job, she's going to pay you back for this dental work, or even put her in a position of saying to you, listen, I'll wait and won't have my wisdom teeth, my impacted wisdom teeth pulled until after I can get insurance. You take care of the bill because that's what you have to do because you're a parent.
Your Honor, let me explain, though.
Sure.
Please, on the dental bill, Amanda made such a big issue of getting herself emancipated so that she could get something for nothing.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I can tell you, she had a scholarship in Indiana to go to any university in the state of Indiana. It's called a 21st Century Scholar. And she basically failed out of the first semester.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
And so she messed up. She got mad because John and I made too much money for her to qualify for federal and state money. And so we let her dad use her dad's income when she applied the second semester for the money. Her dad made too much money. Well, she'll show us she's going to get emancipated, and then if she's got a court document that says she's emancipated, she automatically qualifies for federal money because she doesn't make hardly any money. So there again, she goes to try to get something for nothing.
Well.
But see, then
nothing.
then this little lady, you know, she goes and she takes and she takes and she takes.
Miss Pearson, listen to me.
She's got to stop taking.
Just a second. Are you telling me that the reason your daughter didn't go to college is because she didn't get scholarship?
She went to college.
She went to college,
Yeah.
but she
She
flunked
failed.
out.
No, I did not flunk out.
Well, 1.0 GPA, Amanda, is flunking.
That's not my GPA.
Was below a 2.
Hey. No.
She wasn't there.
What my husband did for her is she said she didn't want to move to Florida because she earned this scholarship and she had to live in Indiana. My husband told her that's bull. He said, you're not limited to Indiana. Amanda, if you want to move down with your mother, he said, I'll pay your way to any college you want to go. I will pay your way. Offered that to her.
He would have asked me to pay that back as well.
No, we wouldn't have. We offered that to her.
Okay, let's get to the dental bill. I don't think it's right for you to say to her as a parent, which is what's causing this conflict, you have to pay for this dental work that was done, even though you had no money at the time. I cannot imagine myself saying that to any of my 20-year-old children. If they were in excruciating pain, having a discussion with them before I took them to the dentist about paying me back once I started working, or else I wasn't going to pay for the bill. I cannot imagine. Quite frankly, I cannot imagine that.
Your Honor,
It wasn't a what if.
To me, that's not.
It wasn't a what if, Your Honor. It was just another point to say, Mandy, okay, we have bailed her out so much. We have bought her so much, bailed her out of her bad check debt. She's got 3 cases in Indiana against her. She's got bad checks all over Florida.
Miss Pearson,
but
I'm
Your Honor,
sympathetic.
but you got to understand, we can't bail her out anymore. She wants to be emancipated and be on her own and be the big girl. Then by George,
Your
step
Honor.
up to the plate and be the big girl.
Well, she's got to be on her own
If
with
they feel
regard
like
to
they keep
what?
giving and giving and giving, and I don't, and I just keep taking and I don't give anything back, then why didn't they quit giving so much long ago if they felt that way?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Don't act immature. Not here.
That's fine.
It's clear to me that you've gone through a long period of immaturity. Not bad. Immaturity. You've taken on financial responsibilities and you've defaulted on those financial responsibilities that your parents, mother, stepfather, father, have at various times come in and bailed you out of those problems that you had. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have a sense that your mother wouldn't be here today if you weren't assuming a posture of, for want of a better word, arrogance. You did move out of their house.
Yes.
In the home of somebody that you met on the internet.
Yes,
Is that
Your
a
Honor.
fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. As a parent, I'm going to tell you that a parent says, what kind of craziness is that? They worry about it. They think it's not responsible. You don't know this person really other than having a conversation with them over that machine. You may meet them a couple of times. Now, I hope it works out. It'd
It's
be
worked
fun.
out wonderfully.
Well, for the moment, it's working out wonderful. 6 months from now, I'll see you here and the person here. Trust me on that. Okay. I don't think that your parents are here just because they want money. I think that they're here because they want a certain measure of responsible behavior. And if you ran up a phone bill like that, and if you're driving around in a car and they cover the insurance for the first couple of months, that to me is totally different from taking care of an emergency dental bill.
The dentist was going to let it wait until she got her insurance, but I just
But they
couldn't stand
insisted.
to see her in that much pain.
Absolutely
And
right.
I said to her, Amanda, I can't take it. If you're in pain, we'll take care of it now.
Good. That's what I figured you'd say. Because that's what a parent says.
We love our daughter, Your Honor. We
I
love her enough to
assume
let her
that you
hate us
do.
right
I
now.
assume that you do, and
If
you just
do,
don't
then
understand.
You would let that man
what-
say what he said about me, about calling me a slut and calling me street trash.
That's not true.
Numerous
May I
times.
say something, Judge?
Who are you?
I'm Jean.
I know Eugene. Who are you?
Okay.
How are you related to this case?
I'm a friend of Kim and John's. And
No, he can't say anything.
Okay.
I don't think that anything that you have to say will make anything any better between the two of them, and that's quite frankly what I'm trying to do. Make things better between the two of them, not make things worse between the two of them with more accusations. Right now, Ms. Pearson has, quite honestly, at this point, acknowledged the fact that she said to her daughter, I can't stand to see you in pain. Go have the dental work done, and I'll take care of it, because that's what a mother does. I think the insurance on your car is something different, and I think that you should pay them back for that. And I think that the phone bill that you ran up, you should pay them back. And you didn't tell me that you stopped payment on this check that you gave him.
I did because of the way they were treating me, and when I went to get my stuff, it required 3 police officers for me to go get my stuff, because when
Oh,
I
no.
arrived to get my
No, no, no.
mail, my mother and my stepfather informed me I needed to get my mail and leave, and I needed to sign this $76 check that was left over from the insurance they paid. I signed it
No,
over to
that's the
him.
tax, Amanda.
I had
We bought your tax.
$131 payroll check, which they had opened, along with my ATM card, my ATM PIN code, and my license plate and registration to my car that they had opened with my name on it.
Amanda, you
Yes.
moved out 3 weeks
Told
ago.
me-
If
Just-
you didn't want us to
no,
get
no,
your
no,
mail,
no.
stop payment on it. I mean,
Told me
stop it.
before
Miss Pearson?
I left the house that unless I signed that payroll check over to them, they wouldn't even consider giving me my stuff.
That's not
and
true.
they said if I do not leave,
That's not true,
they're
ma'am.
not asking me
No,
to leave,
Miss
they're
Pearson.
telling me to leave.
Miss
And
Pearson.
that they will call the law. And I said, that's fine. I went to walk to my room, and my stepfather got up off the couch and came toward me, and I have no doubt he would have done something about it.
Amanda,
And
he
she
didn't
was
even
there.
move.
Miss Pearson?
She was there.
Don't speak to her. She's made up this thing in her head, and you're not going to get it out of her head right now. Amanda, you have one mother. You will have one mother your whole life. Before they moved to Florida, did you live with your mother?
Yes,
And you lived with your mother for how long?
for all my life.
And she took care of you?
To the best she could, yes, she did.
And then when you decided to stay, she kept in touch with you while you were living with your grandparents?
Off and on, causing problems and stuff, but yes.
Well, that's your perception of it. Kept in touch with you when you were living with your father?
A little,
And during that time, you were having some problems.
yes.
And then when push came to shove, they said, come down. They took out almost $8,000 and bought a car for you. Now, the fact that they expected you to pay for that once you got a job, that's not unreasonable. So I don't think that your mom's a bad gal. I think that she's probably wrong for having brought this matter to a court. But I think she has a certain frustration because I assume since you moved out, you haven't spoken to each other.
No.
But when push comes to shove and you need a kidney, you only have one mother. Your mother and stepfather, they're going to take care of your dental work because that's what I think that they intended to do anyway. And I sort of believe the statement about Velveeta cheese that you made a little while ago. You know, when we're old and we need you, you'll pay us back. But I think that you're responsible to take care of the car insurance on a car that you're currently driving and for a phone bill that you racked up. I also think that you might want to take this opportunity to at least open up a dialogue with your mom. You have brothers and sisters?
Yes, one, I have a 14-year-old that's living with them, which they informed me that they were going to keep away from me by putting a restraining order against me for.
Okay. Things are hot. You got to bring them down a decimal. You got to look around where you are today and say there are a lot of terrible things going on in this world today. And these irritations that I'm having compared to everything else that's going on really don't amount to anything. And the importance of family, the importance of staying together and being close to each other and having each other for support is really the most important thing you can do now. Otherwise, you're alone. So I have a sense that's really what your mother wants, and that's why she brought you here, maybe to open up a little bit of a dialogue. So, Amanda, you're young. Young people take longer to get over anger, especially when they feel as if they've been disrespected. Trust me, just think about thousands of people that don't have an opportunity to make up with their mothers. Okay? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,094, which represents the phone bill as well as the $404 for insurance. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yeah.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Haddon versus McCallum, step forward, please.
25-year-old retail manager Cynthia Haddon is suing ex-roommate, 23-year-old ticket broker Andrew McCallum for breaking their lease. Andrew says he broke the lease because Cynthia is unstable.
Ms. Haddon, the defendant was your roommate, according to your complaint. You claimed that he moved out in the middle of the month of September 2001, owing you some rent and bills, and he also took some property of yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant said he's all paid up. When did he move in with you?
We moved in
You moved in together?
together.
And you were just friends?
Yes.
You signed a lease?
Yes, we have a lease that we shared.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, begins on September 15th.
It's beginning the 15th of each month.
Absolutely.
And you moved out on September 16th. Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
When
Moved
did you-
out on September 15th.
Okay. So you signed this lease, sir. Is that right?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
And the lease requires that you give 30 days written notice to the landlord.
Okay.
May I see that, please?
I actually, I had spoke with our manager of the apartment complex, and basically I explained my situation.
Don't tell me what you explained to the manager of your apartment complex, sir, because it says that no oral notice is acceptable.
Okay.
Okay. Did you move out subsequently?
No, Your Honor. I've maintained the apartment. I've stayed there.
Okay. Do you have a new roommate?
Yes, as of October 15th, I have a new roommate.
Okay. And how much was your share of the rent?
My share of the rent was $400, Your Honor.
Actually, Your Honor, we
Why?
had an agreement beginning in the end of August. Andrew and I had a conversation where I asked him, since his girlfriend was moving in, if he could actually split the cost of the rent halfway down the middle, and he said not a problem. So that would be $425 apiece.
Well, did he pay half the rent in
No.
August?
No, beginning September's rent.
Oh, forget it. Then he moved out.
Yeah, then he moved out.
Then he moved
exactly.
out. So he owes you $400 for September's rent. So you have to give a $400.
And then-
Now, what about utility bills, etc.?
I have the Edison bill, which was not the month for Andrew, but the past due balance of $87.79, which reflects the month before that, was the month that he was there.
Did you pay that bill?
Right here, Your Honor.
What's the date on it?
The date on it is 9/15. I actually wrote this check. I post-dated it. I wrote it on the 13th. Your
Was it
Honor.
cashed?
Was it cashed? Yeah. Sitting right here. I got it from my statement.
May I see it?
It was written to Southern California Edison.
Yes, Your Honor, that was also for the month of August's bill. We were in mid-cycle when he moved.
Well, I don't know that, madam. You don't have the bill. He has a check for $191.70 dated 9/15/01.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have that bill that he paid, actually, and it shows the dates on there.
8/2 to 8/31.
Yes, Your Honor. He moved out on September 15th.
Oh, stop it. Stop annoying me with petty stuff. He doesn't owe you $87 for 15 days.
I called the
He
Edison
doesn't
company.
owe you $87 for 15 days. What else?
I also have a copy of the cable bill in the amount of $71.77.
For what period of time?
It was actually for the period of 9/22 to 10/21.
He wasn't even there to watch cable. Next.
I loaned him my television antenna in his room for his television, and he took that with him.
Did you take an antenna?
No, ma'am.
What else?
He also took several items from me, ranging from CDs to Nintendo games.
CDs. How many CDs did he take?
I don't know.
I can't believe I went to law school for this. What CDs did he take from you?
I have a Creed CD, a Sugar Ray CD, Alanis Morissette CD, and an Eminem CD.
Nope.
Do you have those CDs?
I have Creed. I purchased on my own. I probably can find the receipt if I wanted. I don't own any of the other ones. So, Your Honor, the answer is no.
What else?
Also a 007 Nintendo 64 video game.
You have something to say. You have the Nintendo game?
That's my game. I have the credit card receipt at home for that game.
She says it's hers. You say it's yours. How am I supposed to figure
There
that
were
out?
two. He had one of his own, and I
Yeah,
had
we left
one.
one there, and I took mine.
Also, Your Honor, on September 16th, I went and saw him there removing his stuff from the property. He had with him my belongings, which was a television cart stand. I saw it immediately and knew it was mine, and I took it back, as well as a CD tower rack. I noticed that, and he gave it back. And I also had realized that my Nintendo 64 controller was gone, and I asked him for it, and he gave that back.
Why did you pack up those items that weren't yours?
Okay. The CD tower rack she had given to me in the month of March because I needed another rack for my CDs.
And what about the other stuff?
The Nintendo controllers, it was pretty much a foul-up. I have a total of 5 controllers that I bought myself. I do have receipts for because my other controllers had been faulty.
So it was
I
a
bought new
mistake?
ones. It was just an honest mistake.
Okay, what
So
about
I handed it
the
right
TV
back with a smile
stand?
on my face.
TV stand?
stand? I didn't even have a clue about that.
Well, you took it.
Huh?
You took it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a mistake.
It was a mistake, Your Honor.
Like, he owes you $400 for his share of the rent. He didn't give proper notice. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Berrios versus Rivera, step forward, please. Yeah, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Wells versus Howells. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Wells, according to what I've read, sir, you and the defendant had a glorious 11-year relationship. Sometimes on, sometimes off. Now it's off. It's over. But about 2 years ago, when it was over, it is your claim that Miss Howells, while you were incarcerated on some kind of domestic dispute, she stole all of your personal property. So that's the first part of your lawsuit, that you want your personal property from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Then, more recently, in 2002, you got back together again. And you claim that you proposed marriage, and you gave her a ring. And then a month or so later, the relationship ended for good, so you want the ring back.
Yes.
Miss Howells says that she deserves the ring. She doesn't even address the stuff. But she says she deserves the ring after 11 years of being with you. And she's counterclaiming because she says in November, which is the date of the final breakup, that you assaulted her and she wants to be compensated for her pain and suffering, whatever medical bill she has. So I'm not going to get into what you say Miss Howells took 2 years ago. And I'm going to tell you why, sir. Have you been incarcerated for the last 2 years?
No.
Then would you like to tell me why you did not pursue this matter for 2 years?
Well, Your Honor.
I know who I am, so just tell me why.
The reason why is because we have been together and on and off so many times that I've lost count, and these things that I want are things that I bought with my own money. I've paid Ms. Howells numerous amounts of cash and dining and trips to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I've been slapped in the face, and I'd like to have my things back.
Well, you should have been more vigilant, Mr. Wells. Courts are set up to deal with divorces.
Mm-hmm.
They're not set up to deal with almost marrieds, almost togethers, 11-year relationships that don't pan out. You had 2 years in which to act, you didn't. But I'm going to get to the ring for a second. Where's the ring, Miss Howells?
The ring, I returned to Costco in Medford, Oregon, and gave them a picture of the attack of my right arm, and they returned the money to me.
How much money did they return?
$1,099.
That's what you owe him, $1,099. Is that what you paid for the ring, Mr. Wells?
Yes.
An engagement ring is given in anticipation of getting married. You didn't get married, you don't keep the ring or the value thereof because you returned the ring. You don't keep the cash because you feel as if you deserve it. You don't. If you're foolish enough to live with somebody who abuses you and who makes your life miserable, that's your problem. You don't get to keep the ring. So you get $1,099, sir, on your complaint.
Okay.
Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened in November when you claimed that Mr. Wells assaulted you.
Okay, Mr. Wells and I, being he was having some behavior problems, I was going to drive us to a Christian marriage counseling. It was a 2-day seminar. We tried to find the place where it was going to take place and could not find it. So we decided to just go to dinner and, and forget about it. So we went to dinner, had a couple drinks, and then on the way home, we stopped at this nightclub. It's a steakhouse nightclub. He started verbally accusing me things of looking at some guy in the bar and things like that, starting a fight. And I was having a good time. And anyway, so we get to my home, and, it escalated. So we get out of the car, go in the house, and he all of a sudden just turned into a totally different person and told me that, called me some names, and then he told me he was going to kick that TV in, the big screen TV, and he was going to slap me in my face, and he was going to walk out the door and get a taxi and go home. Well, he didn't have any money. So he grabbed my phone and proceeded out the door with it. I said, "Give me my phone back." Anyway, he slammed it down on the cement. I said, "Scott, calm down." He came back inside my home, and he just was out of control. I said, "I will give you the money to take a taxi, if that's your big, thing." I go, "Why can't you just get along with me and we can just, work this out? Why do you have to be like this?" And anyway, he grabbed my purse at one time, ran to the door, and then I ran after him and got my purse away because I had some money in it. We kind of backed up. I kind of backed to my kitchen counter, and something in my heart told me I just better make it to the door and scream because of the way he was carrying on and going out of his mind. And anyway, so I ran to the door, got the door open. I opened the door with my right hand, and and I got to scream out for help, and he immediately grabbed my right arm. It's really hard, and he covered up my mouth, dragged me to my office. It's a second bedroom I use for my office. He dragged me in there and told me the police are going to come, and how much he loved me, and he just carried on, please, tell him I left, because actually when he grabbed me on my arm and grabbed me around my face, I thought he was going to kill me.
Okay, so he grabbed you by the arm, put his hand across your mouth and said, "Please don't scream because the police are going to come.
Yes.
Tell them I'm not here."
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so then the police came, and anyway, he hid in my closet, and they pulled him out of the closet, but he had put something in one of my shoes.
What did he put in one of your shoes?
I have the police report, Your Honor.
What did he put in your shoe?
Meth, drugs.
Drugs. So who was arrested?
He was arrested.
What about
I didn't press charges.
What about you?
No, I went in and did a urinalysis in my bathroom. They gave me the cup, and I'm clean.
What about him?
No, they took him to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not a drug user.
So this was an isolated instance?
Yes. it was.
Yeah, right.
And later today,
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Scott Wells says ex-fiancée Linda Howells owes for the return of property and an engagement ring. Linda says he bought the ring at Costco and she returned it.
All right, Mr. Wells, let's hear your version of the events of the 3rd of November, 2002.
Well, I call this the abuse of the legal system, and here's why. Ms. Howells had made a statement to her neighbor, if I'm murdered, then it's my boyfriend who did it. Well, that was early in the afternoon. Ms. Howells picks me up that evening, takes me out to dinner, takes me back to her house, goes outside, screams, help, I get arrested. That's the short version of it. I mean, that's just one incident. And I've got proof right here.
I'd like to see it.
Also, Ms. Howells is sue crazy. She's got 7 lawsuits going. Here's one that's just recent, a whiplash case. That,
Shh, I'm not interested in a whiplash case. Let me see proof, sir.
This from here in the second page.
Why were you hiding in the closet?
The reason I was hiding in the closet is because of an incident that happened 2 years ago that was similar to this, where she had called the police, had me arrested, said that I had threatened her. I went to jail, and that's when I lost my belongings out of my house.
So is that why you were hiding? What about the drugs?
The drugs, I don't do drugs now as isolated incidents.
Just a second. What were the drugs doing in her shoe?
I had put them there.
Why?
Because when Miss Howells opened the door for the police, she said, he's hiding in the closet.
Well, what were you doing walking around with the drugs?
I was on my way.
Methamphetamine. What were you doing walking around with?
It was a foolish mistake, Your Honor. I mean, it was something I am very embarrassed about.
What did you plan to do with it, sir?
Pardon?
I mean, were you going to frame it?
I was going to snort it.
Had you snorted any of it before?
In the past?
Yes.
No, I'm not a drug user.
So this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right. Were you given a urine test when you got to the precinct?
Yes.
Is it negative or positive?
I'm not sure what the results were.
Really? All right. Let me see your injuries, please.
Okay. And here's a copy of the police report, what happened. And then there's that on my arm. And then the incident of it was actually a year prior, November 23rd, 2001.
I'm not interested in what happened the year before. I'm not interested in his property that happened the year before. I'm not interested.
Okay.
Oh, this is a bad bruise.
Very bad. And I had a 5-hour shoulder surgery in 1997 on my shoulder.
Oh, please. I'm not interested in the year of the flood, madam.
And, Your Honor, there was no...
No, Your Honor, it caused me paralysis, his grabbing me.
Okay, right now you look just fine, but he gave you a nasty bruise.
There was no report of that when the incident happened with the police. This is all
I didn't
fabricated.
press charges. I tried to protect you.
You admitted to the police, sir, that you last snorted the meth earlier that evening.
Yes, I did. Your Honor, I went down the wrong path there. And
fine, well then what you did, sir, you went down the wrong path, and what happened is...
But the drugs have not...
No, listen to me. You went down the wrong path, sir, and what happened when you go down the wrong path and you snort drugs earlier in the evening, your behavior changes. Mm-hmm. Even your memory of events change. Because what you told me happened was that she set you up that night.
She did.
That she came to take you to dinner, and she drove you home to her house, and then she ran outside and screamed for the police so that she could have you arrested. If that's really what you think, I feel sorry for you. If that's what you want me to believe, I feel sorry for me. Because it's not what happened, sir.
Well, Your Honor,
what happened is you got into an argument with her. You were behaving irrationally. You were a little bit sweaty. I don't know what your circumstance is as we stand here today, and I'm certainly not going to ask you. But I will tell you that night, you were acting a little bit irrationally. She went outside and screamed for somebody to call the police. And you got busted, and you got busted for either a disturbance at her home and or the drug possession. You probably pled guilty to the drug possession. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Miss Howells was arrested for marijuana that evening.
Did you?
She was partying with me.
Did you plead guilty to the drug possession?
Yes, I did.
So that's over.
Yeah.
So that part
I haven't tried
that part is over with. As part of what happened in the course of that evening, sir, you bruised her very badly. Because
No.
you didn't want to get... Oh, yeah, you did.
That picture could be from anything. If she was injured, wouldn't she have told the police that night when I was arrested?
A black and blue mark like that doesn't come out 2 seconds later. It comes out, that's what happened. You grabbed her inside. You mean you didn't punch her? She didn't say, he punched me, he kicked me in the back, he threatened to stab me. He said you grabbed her by the arm, which you did, in order to take her inside to shut her up. You were acting irrationally. I don't think that she was seriously injured that night. I don't believe that. But I believe she was injured sufficiently enough to cost you $1,099, which is the cost of the engagement ring. So your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel like this is a defeat for men that have women abusing the legal system to get material things from men.
He makes up stories and he actually believes them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hollis versus Kirkland. Step forward, please.
Inventory control clerk Lori Hollis is suing her former live-in boyfriend, salesman Alex Kirkland, for unpaid rent and bills. Alex says this is revenge for their breakup.
Ms. Hollis, according to your complaint, a couple of years ago, the defendant lived with you. I assume you were in some sort of a relationship when he came to live with you. You say that he owes you money for rent and other bills. Mr. Kirkland says he doesn't owe you a thing, that you never had an agreement with regard to rent, and when he was working, he gave you money. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. When did you move in together, or he moved in with you?
June 10th, 2001.
And how long did you know him before he moved in with you?
From October 1999 for a little over a year and a half.
Why did he move in with you?
He had gotten into a situation where he needed a place to live. And
I don't know what that means.
He had broken up with his girlfriend at the time and he needed a place to live. He was moving out of his place. And so I offered to let him stay with me.
So he wasn't your boyfriend at the time, he was
No.
just a friend?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And, you know, and we had an agreement that he was supposed to pay me $450 a month plus, you know, half of the living expenses, utilities. And about 10 days, I think it was like the 25th of June, he had lost his job. And he lost his job under circumstances which prevented him from being able to collect unemployment. I was a friend of his, and I had faith that he would get a job soon and, you know, and be able to adhere to our agreement. But he stayed unemployed all the way through March 2002.
That's your problem. That's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Soon after he did get a job, he picked up and left.
He's consistent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Hollis says ex-boyfriend Alex Kirkland owes for rent and bills. Alex says Lori is a vengeful woman.
Let me tell you what you just told me. You just told me that he broke up with his girlfriend and he had to move out of her apartment, right? I assume it was her apartment because she wasn't leaving. He was being forced out. Is that right? That's why he came to live with you.
Well, I don't know the circumstances of their relationship. So
Well, certainly. He needed the place to live. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Then, as soon as he got to your house, he lost his job. And when you say he lost a job under circumstances under which he could not collect unemployment, which means he didn't leave voluntarily. He left because he got caught doing something wrong. Well, if you get caught doing something wrong, then maybe you can't collect unemployment, because if you get fired, and if you've had a work history, then you can collect unemployment. So now you have faith in him that he's going to get a job, but he doesn't get a job. So you can, if he's just your friend, you say to him, toodaloo. Well, but you decided not to. So why are you here a year and a half later looking for rent?
Well, all the time that he was staying with me, well, in September of 2001, he decided, he instigated a conversation with me to take our relationship further, because we had been friends for a real long time. We cared about each other, and I loved him. So
that's why you let him stay.
I let him stay.
That's why you let him stay.
And he continually told me that, you know, don't worry, you'll get a job and he'll pay me what he owes me, and so on. But soon after he did get a job, he picked up and left. And
he's consistent. He's consistent. So what are you complaining about?
Well, the fact that
you cared for him. He evidently was not committed.
do have a signed rental agreement by him, though.
Let me see it. When did you have him sign a rental agreement?
Well, I tried to use it as so in a child support hearing to prevent his child support from being raised.
Were you involved in the child support dispute, sir?
Yes.
Is that why you signed this agreement?
That is why I signed that agreement.
So, according to this, you owe her for a year's rent.
According to that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And?
I didn't really remember signing that agreement. And once she brings it, now that she brings it up, the reason that I signed it was to take into court to show that I was living at a place and everything was on the up and up, and for them not to raise the child support, which they did anyway. It had really nothing to do with rent. She agreed to help me knowing the situation that I was in. I did pay her. I signed my complete checks over to her once I started working, and I didn't move out right after I got a job.
When you say you signed your complete checks over to her, how often did he do that? How many times did he sign his complete checks over to you?
He did the first check he got in April. He did because we were kind of in the rears at rent at the time.
So how much was that?
I don't know how much.
How much was that? Do you remember?
I believe it was around $500 from what I had left from the child support.
Mm-hmm.
And he moved out in July 15th.
Okay. Mr. Kirkland, what you're suggesting is that you took this piece of paper. You were sworn to tell the truth.
That's correct.
And the judge asked you what your expenses were?
Yes, he did. I told him that I wasn't working, and those are expenses that were against me.
You gave this to the judge when you were under oath and said, these are my expenses.
Yes.
My rent is $450 a month.
That's correct.
I need this for transportation. I need this for clothing. Is that right?
That's correct.
So now you're coming into this court, and you're telling me in this court that this was merely meant to fool the judge in the child support proceeding.
That's not correct.
Of course that's correct. That you furnished this document to the judge in the child support hearing in the hopes that they would not raise your child support, but that this agreement was false. You were not supposed to pay $450 a month rent. So you furnished this to the judge in that hearing in order to fool that judge. Your fair statement?
I guess that would be a fair statement.
Got a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sullivan versus Bradshaw. Step forward, please.
25-year-old cook Andrea Sullivan and her husband Micah are suing former friend 25-year-old cook Damon Bradshaw for injuring Andrea's back when he body slammed her onto a couch. Damon says he was imitating Andy Kaufman.
Mrs. Sullivan, the defendant was a former friend of yours and a roommate.
That's right.
Both you and your husband's. Is your husband?
Yes.
According to your complaint, one evening, two of you were sitting around watching television, and Mr. Bradshaw, sort of mimicking something that you were watching on television, some wrestling that you were watching on television, he picked you up and he threw you on the sofa, because he was watching some wrestling. Is that right, Mr. Bradshaw?
Pretty much. It was Andy Kaufman.
What does he do? Does he sing?
He was a comedian who wrestled women.
What?
Taxi, Locker, on Taxi, the show Taxi.
He be that.
Does he also, and he wrestles?
Well, he started wrestling women for a while because he thought it'd be funny.
See, that's what you were watching on television.
Yeah.
And
So, huh?
what day of the week was this?
I don't know. On a weekday or something, I don't remember.
Well, what kind of work do you do? What were you doing then?
I wasn't working at the time. So.
Were you studying something?
No, I was just a bum. Pretty much.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're a cook.
Yeah.
Did you go to school for that?
No, I didn't.
Would you give me the name of the restaurant, Bert, and I want to make sure to take it off our list.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andrea Sullivan and her husband Micah are suing former friend Damon Bradshaw for injuring Andrea's back when he body slammed her onto a couch. Damon says he was imitating Andy Kaufman.
Anyway, you picked up Mrs. Sullivan and you threw her on the couch?
I didn't throw her.
Tell me what you did.
Well, we were getting wasted, and we were up all night long watching TV, and he had to go to work, and so we were watching Man on the Moon about Andy Kaufman, and I thought it looked pretty funny. I said I could kick any girl's butt, and...
Don't do that to the table.
Sorry.
It's irritating.
And so I grabbed her, and we were wrestling around, and I took her, and I like put her on the couch, and she landed on, I guess, a bar or something in the couch, and I hurt her back. Then we called him. He came over.
Oh. What kind of work do you do now?
Now I'm a cook.
You're a cook?
Yeah.
Did you go to school for that?
No, I didn't.
Would you give me the name of the restaurant? Bert and I want to make sure to take it off our list. Could we have the name of the restaurant, please? Put that down, Bert.
It's really good.
It's off the list.
It's off the list.
Off the list.
All right, he threw you down on the couch. You hurt your back, is that right?
That's right. We weren't wrestling, though.
Mr. Bradshaw said that you were both drinking. Is that true?
Yes.
What do you do?
I am a cook also.
Did you go to school to be a cook?
No.
What's the name of the restaurant? And what do you do?
I'm a student.
Did you see a doctor?
Yes, I went to a chiropractor.
Can I see, please, the bills from the chiropractor? When did you first start to have pain in your back?
As soon as he dropped me onto the couch, that he slammed me down onto the couch.
Was there a bar there? He says
yeah, there was
bar
like
there.
a wood frame bar that I landed on, and
They weren't really wrestling, though, Your Honor. He always says it like that they were wrestling and having a good time, but he just
He wasn't
picked her up
wrestling.
and
He was being an idiot.
Yeah, he just grabs her and
No,
threw her
excuse me,
down.
he wasn't being an idiot.
Yes,
He was an
he did
idiot
slam me
practicing
It was
his
just like
craft.
Rough House.
Yeah.
I don't go around beating women up.
You didn't do it, sir. You didn't hurt her on purpose.
No.
I want to explain something to you. I don't believe that you hurt her on purpose. I believe that you hurt her because you were an idiot.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Whether you hurt her on purpose or you hurt her because you're an idiot, you still hurt her, and it's your fault. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You had medical bills in the amount of $3,567. Is that right?
yes.
Listen, I hope a lot of other people go to, what is this, to eat?
Yeah.
So you're going to need it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,567.56.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Sales rep Aaron Griffin is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse's aide Darlene Harris, for the return of his personal property and for having him falsely arrested. Darlene says Aaron broke into her apartment.
Mr. Griffin, you are suing the defendant, who was your former girlfriend, because you say she had you falsely arrested for burglarizing her property, when what you were actually trying to do was to get some of your stuff out because she had thrown you out. Ms. Harris said that you did in fact break in and all the property that you wanted belonged to her. Is that right?
Right.
Were you living together?
I had my own home.
Is that right?
No, he was living in my house.
Did he also have his own home?
Well, yes.
What was your stuff doing in her apartment?
We had decided to spend 2 weeks together. After a few days, I recognized that she didn't have some items. She didn't have a television in the bedroom. She didn't have a living room set. So I decided to move some of my belongings from my home over to her residence.
What did you move over?
I brought over my living room set, a television.
Which consisted of what?
Consisted of a cherry oak table, 8 chairs. I also brought over a 19-inch television, a portable CD player, my clothing, some dishes, glasses, silverware, and also...
She didn't have any of that stuff?
She had some of it, but incomplete sets.
She didn't have enough for you to eat off of for 2 weeks?
Well, I wanted to assist, and as I said, I...
You wanted to assist in what?
Assist her in some of the items that she didn't have.
And so after 2 weeks, it didn't work out. What happened, Mr. Griffin?
Well, we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Miss Harris said.
Yeah.
That's what Miss Harris said. She said when you brought the 8 chairs in, she didn't know you had 8 chairs and a wife. Okay, so what happened?
She didn't apparently want to wait until I could get a divorce. So I decided that it was time for me to move out. That Monday morning, we had one final argument, and I left, but I did leave my belongings in the residence. The argument had gotten very bitter, and I decided that it was just best if I leave at that point.
That was smart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Upon my return, I found that the defendant was not in her residence and the door was locked. I did have she had given me a key when I first arrived from Texas.
But she took the key off the ring.
Right, unbeknownst to me.
How do you retrieve your articles?
Well, actually, I came in through the side window. I kind of pushed it up and climbed in.
But how do you get them? You brought over table, chairs, TVs, CDs. Where are you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I was going to place all of the items that I could carry into my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
A Mercury Sable.
So one of those expandable Mercury Sables?
No, Your Honor. It's average size.
So you weren't planning too well.
I guess not, no.
So what happened? You crawl into the house and you open up a window, crawl into the house, and what happened next, sir?
I commenced to packing my clothing and my luggage, and the doorbell rang. And when the doorbell rang, I went to the door thinking it was the defendant.
It wasn't the defendant, it was the?
Police, right. It was the police upon me opening the door, but I thought it was the defendant.
Okay, what you thought. What you thought was irrelevant.
Okay.
It's okay, so you opened the door and it was the police. Go ahead.
Correct. They asked me what my name was. I said Aaron Griffin. They said, you're now under arrest, and they charged me with burglary. The defendant indicated that she didn't know me.
Really?
I had broken in.
Just a second. Did you tell the police you didn't know him?
No. 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 I never told. No.
You told him to call his wife. She knows him.
Very well.
Were you there when she said she didn't know you?
They were actually leading me down the stairs of the porch.
And
she was standing in front of the house with the police.
Yes.
She said she didn't know me, that I had broken in.
That's pretty nasty if you did it.
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay. So let's talk about this report that you made to the police. Tell me about that.
I was coming up my street with my sister-in-law, and I saw his vehicle in my driveway. Shouldn't have been in my driveway because I had taken the key off the key ring. I was scared. We had an argument, you know, and I was...
So you called the police?
I called the police, and they met me at my house. They saw the window, and they arrested him.
They saw the window what?
It was broken.
How was it broken? The glass was broken?
Yes.
Did you break the glass?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Oh, you've left that out. You said you just pushed the window up a little bit. So you broke the window to get in?
Yes, I did.
That's not false arrest. You can't do that. It's not your house. You can't break a window to get in. So that takes care of your false arrest charge. Now you want all your furniture back.
Yes, I do.
Table, 8 chairs, 19-inch television, CD, dishes. You have all that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I put it into the trash. I got rid of it.
Oh, no, Miss Harris, listen to me. You know how I caught him in fibs? That's a fib. You want to tell me what you did with his table and 8 chairs?
That's what I did with it.
Well,
I woke up one day and I was upset and I didn't want any reminder of him in my house, and I put that stuff out.
You put it out? Good.
Yes.
You pay for it. That was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
that was the wrong thing to do.
We were getting married and had a wife.
Listen to me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. You acted impulsively, and it was the wrong thing to do, so you have to pay for it.
Your Honor.
A, I don't believe that you just took it outside and threw it out. You may have given it to somebody.
Well, people in the neighborhood, I'm sure they came and took the stuff up off the curb.
Including
but
the television?
Exactly what,
including the television set?
Yes.
That's fine, then you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. But that's it, Mr. Griffin. That's all.
This is case number 260 on the calendar in the matter of DeGrace versus Rossi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Grace, you rented a room from the defendant. The tenancy lasted 1 day. You want your money back, and in addition to your money back, you want some punitive damages you claim for invasion of your privacy. Mr. Rossi said you left of your own volition, you broke the terms of your tenancy, and you don't get any money back. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What kind of place did you rent to her, Mr. Rossi?
Room inside of a privately owned home.
You're the owner?
Yes.
So you rented her a room in your house with kitchen privileges, I assume?
Correct.
How much should you charge her in rent?
$325.
And what other money did she give you?
First month's additional for utility expenses.
How much did she give you in total?
$575.
Had you advertised for this room?
Yes.
Where?
Buffalo News.
Are you legally able to rent in your home?
Correct.
You are legally able to do that?
Sure.
She signed the lease?
No.
How come?
There was no written contract.
Why not?
Didn't feel the need to.
You have a tenancy, then you have a contract. It says what your rent is, what security deposit, what it's for, that it'll be returned, what you're going to do with the security deposit, put it in an interest-bearing account. I mean, you want to do all these...
There was no mention of any security deposit, Your Honor.
Well, what was the other $250 for, sir?
Money that she chipped in for the utility expenses the first month.
$250 for your utilities?
Correct.
What utilities cost you
There
$250?
was no mention of any additional security deposit.
Mr. Rossi, had you ever rented a room before?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay. Who advised you legally?
No one.
That's what I figured. Okay. Now, Mr. Grace, what date did you move in?
January 1st.
When had you seen the room?
3-4 days before it.
And you spoke to Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Who else lives in the home?
His girlfriend.
Just the two of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old are you?
19.
Your mother. Sit down. And what happened on January 1st when you moved in?
He helped me move my stuff into the apartment, and he was
What
acting very
apartment?
strange.
It was a room.
I'll get to that.
What apartment?
His apartment.
I thought it was a house.
No, it's not.
What is it?
It's an apartment that he is renting.
It's an apartment in a building that he's renting?
No, it's just an apartment, like a house, but he's renting.
From whom?
From his landlord.
Is that true?
It's a privately owned house, Your Honor.
Do you own it?
I don't own the house, no.
That's what I asked you before. Did I ask him that question before?
That's what you asked him.
And what did he say? He said yes.
He said, yeah.
You are a renter.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rossi?
Self-employed contractor.
How long have you been a tenant?
6 years.
In the same place?
Correct.
Did you have permission of your landlord to rent?
Yes.
Show me.
I don't have anything in writing.
Really?
No.
What's your rent?
How much do I pay for rent?
That would be the question, Mr. Rossi.
$470.
Plus what?
Utilities.
So your rent is $470. You're charging her $325.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mr. Grace. You say he's acting weird. He is weird.
He was not charging me $325. He was charging me $350.
Okay.
I paid him up front the day before I moved in for $250 for utilities, and the day that I moved in, I paid him $350 for the first month's rent. He refused to give me a receipt saying that I paid him the $350. He said for tax reasons. Then he showed me and my father all these gas bills that he owed. He did not say that he couldn't pay them. He just said that they were too high. And that night, I fell asleep that night. He came in my room. His pit bull first, he didn't tell me he had a pit bull. His pit bull burst into my room and started attacking me, started jumping all over me, biting my arms.
If a pit bull bit your arms, madam, you would know it. Mr. Grace, I don't want you to make up any stories
It was
to
under
embellish.
the covers.
You understand?
Okay, yes.
If a pit bull bites you all over the arms, you would have major scars or some scars.
I was under the covers.
Oh, okay, so his dog came into your room and it scared you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Then he came in my room smoking pot. He got the dog off of me. And he sat down next to me and he started talking sexually to me. And he
said, lie.
No, it's not. He's the liar.
You felt uncomfortable there, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Prior to your moving into his room, where had you been living?
At my father's.
Does your father live with your mother?
No.
How long had you been living with your father?
For about 3 years.
Why did you leave your father's house?
I wanted to become more independent.
Were you working?
No, I was going to school.
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
Who was going to be paying your rent?
I was.
If you're a full-time student, how are you going to pay your rent?
I am on SSI.
What's the nature of your disability?
Depression, anxiety.
And you take medication for that?
Yes.
You were going to try to make it on your own?
Yes.
Didn't work out. And the next day, you said, I'm going back home. Now, when you left, where did you go?
I didn't go back home. I called up my mother and I was crying.
Okay, and so did you go to your mother's house?
Yes.
And you stayed there?
Yes.
Is that where you're living now?
No.
Where are you living now?
I'm living back at my father's.
Okay, good. Everything okay?
At my father's, yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Rossi, aside from the fact that you illegally rented a room in a place where you were a tenant and you have absolutely no proof of the fact that your landlord gave you permission to do that, I'd like you to tell me what were your out-of-pocket expenses for the 24 hours that Mr. Grace lived in your house? Is not an answer, Mr. Rossi.
Out-of-pocket expenses while she was there for 24 hours?
Yes.
There were none.
Perfect. Then if she left after 24 hours, why didn't you return her money to her?
Because I had to spend time to try to gain access to get myself a new tenant. If I was able to
what
have...
kind of nonsense did he just say? What kind of gobbledygook did he just put together?
I'm not catching it.
You're not catching it. You're not catching it.
You are
Mr. Grace.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't look like an unintelligent person. A little slimy, but not unintelligent.
And later today...
Tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Allison DeGrace claims former landlord Stephen Rossi caused her to move out after only one day. Allison says during her first night there, Stephen entered her room while she was asleep.
Mr. Rossi, my question was, you illegally rented a room, she moved out, you had absolutely no loss as a result of her moving out. If you were aware of the fact, Mr. Rossi, that when she moved in, that she was on medication, a fact that was evident to me, then why didn't you say, look, this is not working out. She's unhappy. I'm going to give her back her money.
I wasn't aware that she was unhappy, Your Honor.
Listen, she moves all of her things into your house. She comes there with her father?
Correct.
With her father. I mean, if you're an intelligent person, you don't look like an unintelligent person, a little slimy, but not unintelligent. You understand that there's a certain dynamic here going on. This was in what month? January in Buffalo? It gets very cold, but I'm sure your brain thought out enough in Buffalo in January to understand that there's a certain family dynamic going on here. So if it didn't work out and she was unhappy, she was stressed, whatever it was, you say, here's your $600 back. I'm not out any money. It didn't work out, especially since you were doing something that was in violation of your tenancy. You probably fell behind in some bills, and you probably figured you could get somebody to shore up a little bit, and you did, and you got a $600. You managed to pay off the bills you were behind paying off, and you say you can't have your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a complete lie.
The girl's on lithium. She's on Prozac. She's only 19 years old.
I'm not on heavy medication.
I think she moved into a place. She moved out the following day. It's her loss.
I'm not crazy.
I think the girl's nuts.
Manager Candace Spencer is suing the father of her child, cruise line reservationist Keith Drever, for unpaid rent and for unpaid charges on a cell phone. Keith says he would have paid his debts, but Candace had him thrown in jail.
Order. All rise. Please. Thank you. Yeah, this is case number 369 on the calendar in the matter of Spencer versus Drever. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge.
Ms. Spencer, Mr. Drever is your former boyfriend. You have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, he owes you for a month's rent and a phone bill, a cell phone bill, from well over a year ago. The reason you waited to sue him was because he was incarcerated for the last year based upon an incident that occurred about a year ago with you.
Yes.
Mr. Drever, according to what I read, you were on probation for something else. There was an argument. She alleged that you hit her. You were ultimately convicted of that. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for the year on that conviction or on the parole violation?
Both, Your Honor.
What had you been on parole for?
Aggravated assault, ma'am.
On her?
It was another man.
Have you learned to control your temper a little better?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good thing. Now, tell me about first the phone bill.
Back in approximately June of 2001, Keith had recently gotten out of a correctional facility after getting out of jail. It was a drug rehab program, and right around the time he got out, he started developing a relationship with our son again.
How old is your son?
He's 4. So because of his credit history, he couldn't get a home phone, so he tried to get a cell phone. He asked me, since I had a phone already in my name, would I be willing to get a secondary phone so that we could be in contact with each other in case of emergencies or what have you, since there were going to be times when our son would be with him. He agreed he'd pay the $14.99 a month plus any charges he incurred for going over the minutes. He never paid me on any of it.
Okay, so how much was his portion of the bill?
His portion total is $678.20.
Okay, let's deal with the phone first. Yes, sir.
With the cell phone, I disagree as far as the reason why I got the phone. We had discussed with her particular job, she goes on call, and she would need someone to watch my son, who was 3 at the time. And then what wound up happening is the phone turned into more like an electronic leash.
So I gather you saying that she wanted to keep tabs on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's one thing, but did you use the phone and go over the minutes calling other people?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, well, so who should pay for that?
I should.
Good. That's easy. Can I see the bill, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I would have paid the cell phone.
This is your fault. Shh. Sorry.
I did 13 and a half months sentence in prison because...
You lost your temper.
I didn't strike her, Your Honor. I did not touch her. She got mad at me, she called the police, and I went to prison. Now, I got out...
Miss Spencer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that true? Did he, in fact, put his hands on you?
Yes, ma'am.
How did he put his hands on you?
He
Look
was,
at me.
Yes, ma'am. He was attempting to come into the apartment. As you can see, he's slightly larger than me. He was trying to get in the apartment. I'm very stubborn. I'm not going to deny it. I was standing in the doorway trying to prevent him from coming in.
You weren't living together at the time?
Yes, we were, but we'd only been living together for a month. It was me, him, and his roommate.
So you'd been living together, and he was trying to get into the apartment?
To get a 12-pack of beer out of the refrigerator.
And you're blocking the door?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
I got elbowed in the eye, in which I sustained a black eye.
How did that happen?
As he's trying to push his way in.
Yeah.
His elbow got me in the eye.
So it was an accident?
I don't...
So it was an accident? Is what you're telling me, Miss Spencer, is that it was an accident?
No, ma'am.
He didn't hit you with his fist, did he?
No.
You were blocking the door in a place where he was a tenant. Is that
Yes.
right?
This is his second incident against a female for domestic violence. He's also got a charge against his wife.
Then I want to tell you something. You shouldn't have put yourself in that position.
I agree.
Right? However, what he's telling me has a ring of truth to it. You were blocking his entrance from getting into his home. He pushed you out of the way. He didn't hit you. But as he pushed you out of the way, his elbow hit you in the eye. His elbow. You
Well,
know,
that's
he
what
didn't,
he thinks.
he didn't
We're
go,
not sure
he didn't
exactly
go
how.
like this and hit you in
No,
the eye.
no, ma'am.
His elbow hit you as he was coming in, and he's saying for that he was incarcerated for 13 months.
No.
That's a long time.
Right. If you were to ask our son, who was present during this, what happened, he said he would tell people his daddy was in jail for punching mommy in the face.
But he didn't punch you in the face, Miss
Right.
Spencer.
I agree.
But he didn't punch you in the face.
Right. I also have a letter from Mr. Drever that I'd like to submit, if I may,
I'd
please.
like to see it. Well, it's a nasty letter, but he spent 13 months in jail for something that really has some mitigating circumstance to it. Did you have a trial?
Well, ma'am, the way the situation worked, I had 3 days...
Did you have a trial?
No, ma'am. I had a plea bargaining hearing.
What was the plea bargain?
13.5 months, or I would
on the old case and this case?
In this case, to get it cleared out. If I would have taken it to trial, and even if I would have won the trial, they were going to send me away for 7 years.
On the parole violation?
On the probation violation, correct.
Your Honor, he also has a copy of his arrest history with him. If you could look at that, you would kind of get an
I
idea.
believe, listen to me, Miss Spencer.
Yes, ma'am.
My dear, I believe that Mr. Drever has a very bad temper. Whether he has resolved his very bad temper, I don't know. But you and I both know that you precipitated this altercation that happened in September of 2001 by blocking the door. First of all, by moving back in with him.
He moved in with me.
You permitted that.
Right.
You knew his history. You permitted that. And if he was going inside to get a six-pack of beer and you decided you didn't want him to do that and you stood in his way, he's allowed to go into his home.
Well, there's an
Madam.
incident that precipitated that I didn't get a chance to say. I had left. We got into an argument. I had left and gone to my friend's house. When I came back, my son was dressed, sitting on top of a suitcase, and said that him and Daddy were going back to Lenny. That's his ex-girlfriend. So I was trying to keep him out of the house because I didn't know that he wasn't going to take my son and leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He owes me over $7,000 in child support.
You mean for this past year as well?
Yeah, but the state of Ohio doesn't overlook it because he was in jail. They don't care.
I care. I care.
And later today,
She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler
You're a
as you are.
hustler.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candace Spencer says the father of her child, Keith Drever, owes for rent and a cell phone bill. Keith says Candace had him falsely arrested and thrown in jail for 13 months.
Just a second. You left and left your son with him.
And a roommate. I left to give him a cooling off period.
But you left your son with him, so
Right.
clearly you were not concerned for your son's safety. You knew he was with his father and he was going to be okay. So you both cooled off for a while.
Right.
Why did you prevent him from going back into the house?
Because he had started yelling and screaming and threatening me in front of our roommate, and I was afraid that he was going to do something to me or my son, so I was trying to keep him out of the apartment. I was trying to close the door, and he was trying to get back in.
Do you see your son now, Mr. Trevor?
Yes, ma'am.
How often?
As much as I can.
You have a court order of visitation?
No, ma'am.
He has a court-ordered child support that he hasn't paid. He owes me over $7,000 in child support.
Well, just a second. You mean for this past year as well?
Yeah, but the state of Ohio doesn't overlook it because he was in jail. They don't care. It's the state of Ohio
care.
child support. I agree.
I care.
Well, I understand.
Good. But you see your son.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Trevor, I want you to understand this, sir. I think that what you have to do is you have to put a period with regard to this bad feeling. She lets you visit with your son, even without a court order. I think that you ought to pay her this money. Clearly you owe her the money, and the reason that you say you're not going to pay her the money is because you're angry that she had you incarcerated for 13 months.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Right? Part of that responsibility is yours. You were in that position. Had you not been on parole for a very serious case, you wouldn't have been facing 7 years in jail. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am.
So, and nobody put you in that position except you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, it's unfortunate. But I think that you got to pay her this money for the phone. I don't think, however, that you have to pay her the money for the rent, and I'm going to tell you why. She blocked your entrance to your home. She refused to give you entry into a premises that was your home. She not entitled to any rent for that month. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff, not in the amount requested, which is $880, but $678.20, which is the amount of the phone bill. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I could be thrown in jail for doing nothing, basically, and then lose a year income and then still have to pay her money.
I'm a bigger person, and I allow him to see our son without the fact that he hasn't paid me any child support, so I'm going to get along with him as best as I can for the sake of our son.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Damaris versus Harrington, Adinolfi, step forward, please.
20-year-old homemaker Shannon Damaris is suing her former friends, 19-year-old salesperson Holly Harrington and 22-year-old car salesman Tony Adinolfi for the return of her cat, Smokey.
Okay, Mr. Maris, you had a cat. Your cat's name was Smokey. Something happened, you had to move from where you were living, you couldn't take the cat with you, you asked the defendants, who were friends of yours, if they would take care of your cat for a while. That while turned into a long while, and now you want your cat back, and they say it's not your cat anymore. It's our cat.
Right.
Right, okay. So I need some facts. When did you get Smokey?
Smokey was given to me about 3 years ago.
What do you mean about 3 years ago? Let's get a month and year.
November of '99.
By whom?
My boyfriend's brother.
As a kitten?
They had him as a kitten, and then they gave him to us, yes.
But you didn't get him as a
No,
kitten?
I didn't get him as a kitten.
When you say he was given to us, you were living with your boyfriend at the time?
Yep.
So the cat was given to your boyfriend?
He was given to us as a couple, yes.
And then you got custody of the cat when you separated?
We never separated.
So you're still together?
Yep.
Oh, that's so interesting. When did you give the cat to the defendants?
I had given the cat in her custody in the middle, probably around the 15th of February.
And when did you ask for the cat back?
I asked for the cat back in June. That's a lie.
Let's say you asked for the cat back 5 months later. Where were you for 5 months?
I had asked for the cat in June because on my birthday, which was July 21st, is when I attempted to actually get the cat. But
That's July.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
had
6 months
attempted
later.
in June to get the cat. I said I'm going to be taking the cat, and she just kind of put her head down and walked away.
Fine. So then you didn't do anything in June. So the first time you tried to get the cat back was in July, which was 6 months later. Where had you been for 6 months?
I had been living with my parents. My landlord at the time, I had to move in with my parents, and the landlord didn't allow it because we had 3 pets already. And when my dog died, that kind of gave me an opportunity to bring another animal in, and my landlord allowed that at that time.
Where was the boyfriend?
He's incarcerated.
When did he become incarcerated?
On January 24th of 2002.
Is that why you lost your apartment?
Yep.
Okay. How many animals do you have now?
We have 2 cats.
Did you have those 2 cats before?
Those are my parents' cats.
Well, where are you living now?
I'm living with my parents.
And these 2 cats that are your parents' cats, have they ever lived with Smokey?
No.
They have not?
No.
Why would you want to take this cat back now?
Because
now we're talking about almost a year later.
The reason it's a year is because they dragged it out, basically. I attempted to get. I told them in June that
Listen to me. July is when you first. That's 6 months. We're not talking about bringing home a sweater or 4 new tires. According to the defendants, it was supposed to be a short-term arrangement for a month, and you were also supposed to give them some money to take care of the cat, which you never did. Is that right?
That's correct.
No money, no vet bills, no food, no anything else. But more importantly, you're treating this as if it was an inanimate object.
I care very much about my cat.
I don't care about you. I don't care about you. You have a cat. You disappear for 6 months. You're out of the picture for 6 months. That animal has bonded with a new family. And now you say a year later, I want my cat back.
I attempted to get my cat back, and they dragged
6 months later.
No, about 4 months later.
No.
There was no agreement of how long. The thing is, I couldn't take care of the cat at the time, and me and my friend came together, and she said, "I will help you out."
Who are you?
Can
I say something?
Who are you?
I'm her witness.
To what?
To what happened about the agreement and everything. She wasn't even there, Your
She
Honor.
wasn't even there.
She was there.
No, she was not.
Come on. When were you there?
Your Honor, technically I wasn't there for the agreement, but...
Sit down. Then I'm not interested in technically. If technically you weren't there, this is a court. This is technical. You're suing for $500. You're not getting the cat back. How much is the value of the cat to you?
He's part of me is what he's the value of it.
Part of you. When something is part of you, like a child, then you don't give it up for 6 months.
I didn't give it up for 6 months. I attempted to get my cat, and they dragged it out. And I offered them money.
You're not following, madam. What you did was tell me that the cat came into their possession in February. You told her in June you were going to be coming for the cat, but you didn't go there until July.
Yes, I did.
That's 6 months.
I went there several times, and I visited with the cat and everything.
Just a
and
second.
she never mentioned
Just wait a
ever.
second. Did you go to visit the cat every day?
Not every day, about
Did
twice a week. About twice a week I'd hang out over there.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Case is dismissed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Boncheva versus Lowhorn. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Petya Boncheva is suing 23-year-old welder Larry Lowhorn for keying Petya's car. Larry is denying the charge.
All right, this is not going to take long, Bird. Don't get too comfortable. According to your complaint, you knew the defendant. Whether you liked him or he liked you, I quite frankly don't care whether you were friends or not, but according to your complaint, you were at somebody else's house. You walked into the house, he's sitting there with his shoes off, and you commented that he had dirty socks, which irritated him. The next thing you knew, you went outside, so you saw that somebody had keyed your car, and you say it was the defendant. He says, you did comment about his dirty socks, but he didn't key your car.
Correct.
Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
I probably think you keyed her car. Just watching you, watching your body language. I'm really smart when it comes to that. I think you did do that, but see what I mean?
Yes.
But it's up to her to prove it to me. And you have no witnesses, is that right?
No.
Nobody saw him do it?
No.
He didn't admit that he did it?
No.
So what do you want me to do?
Well,
he actually did say that he was going to do something to my car. And the night
Actually,
that...
Your Honor?
Don't speak until I speak to you.
Yes.
The night that he keyed my car, we were over at my friend Keith's house.
Don't give me the whole story. I want to know. He said he was going to key your car. When did he say he was going to do something
After I made a comment about his socks, telling him that his socks were dirty, he looked at me and he said, well, you really shouldn't make comments to people that know what kind of car you drive. So I said, you don't even know what kind of car I drive. And he reminded me how we met and the night he'd seen my car. So I was like, okay, he knows my car. Then right after he made a comment, he said, well, you better watch out now. Watch what happens to you now.
So you have pretty good reason to think that it was him, right?
Yeah.
But you understand that in court you have to have proof.
Yeah, well, actually, we did call, I did call the Clinton Township Police Department. We did make a report about it. I was in there for not more than a half an hour. And after he made a comment, he went outside for 5 minutes. And, he came back. He just looked at me and smiled. So my friend Keith said, well, let's go look at your car. Maybe he did do something to it. So me and him walked outside and seen my car was keyed. Right after he was out there for 5 minutes, came back, and we went outside. So
what did the police tell you when you reported it?
They told me to make a report about it, take him to court because
they couldn't do anything about it because you had no witnesses. They couldn't arrest him.
No.
Now you want to say something?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. What she was failing to mention at first is that she was kind of upset with me in the beginning, before all this even started, because when we initially met.
I don't care.
Okay.
Get to her car.
Okay, when I got to the apartment and she started saying this stuff to me.
About your dirty socks.
Yes.
And about your hygiene.
Yes, I kind of got aggravated, so I kind of went outside. My witness, Sam, and another girl were outside. They were talking. I went out there to use the phone because we had gotten the argument. I called my girlfriend to come pick me up because I didn't want to sit here and argue with a 16-year-old about something as petty as dirty socks. So I called him. We came up Sam came up first, and I came up later with Laura.
Sir,
actually,
Mr.
lying,
Lawhorn, shh, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear you.
Okay.
Unless you're going to tell me, Judge, I'm going to fess up. Either I keyed her car, or my friend keyed her car, or I saw somebody key her car. I don't want to hear all your other nonsense. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did you key her car?
No, Your Honor.
Do you know who did?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
No.
Right. You have no proof that he keyed your car. You have no witnesses. He didn't make a confession. Do you understand? I can't find that he keyed your car. He might have, or he might have, or somebody else that was outside might have. He may have given them the key to key your car. You have no proof.
But he said he was going to do something to my car. So, and I was in there for not more than a half an hour, and we walked outside as soon as she came in, and my car was keyed. No, Sam was not outside with him when he went outside. Neither was Laura. They were all in the apartment with us.
Well, they weren't.
They were all in there. So he went outside alone.
You have no proof that he keyed your car. Not sufficient in court, anyway. Not sufficient for the police to arrest him for vandalism, and not sufficient for me to be able to charge him for fixing your car. He might have done it. Probably did, based upon his body English, but I can't make a judgment based upon that. So unfortunately, I have to dismiss your case. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Beausoleil versus Bridges. Step forward, please.
Doll artist Carol Beausoleil is suing computer business owner Jeff Bridges for a refund on a computer. Carol says Jeff sold an outdated computer to her minor son.
Miss Beausoleil, where is your son?
He didn't come because he's afraid to go on planes, and he just felt really awkward. And
how old is he?
17.
He didn't come because he's embarrassed. I can understand why he would be embarrassed under the circumstances of this case.
Oh, okay,
According to your
you're right.
complaint, Miss Beausoleil, your son wanted a computer, and he had a friend who worked in a computer store. Two of you discussed it and thought it would be a good idea for him to go to the computer store where his friend works. Are you the friend?
Yes.
For him to buy a computer, a used computer, because he needed it for the internet.
Right.
So he went with his friend to the computer store owned by the defendant and was sold a used computer with a monitor. The whole package was $420?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. And you say the computer crashed at some point and you want your money back.
Yeah.
What date did you sell the boy the computer?
Speaking to me, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your
I'm
Honor?
looking at you, I'm talking to you.
Sorry. I sold it on March 28th of 2002, and it was a used computer system.
Okay. And you told him it was used?
Yes, I did.
Did he give you a deposit?
Yes, he gave me a $50 deposit.
Did he take the computer with him?
No, not right away.
So he really bought it on layaway?
Yes.
Now, when your son came home, your son was 17 at the time?
Yeah.
Did you discuss with your son that he had found a computer that he liked and he put a $50 deposit on it?
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So did you go down to the computer store
Yes.
to look at it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. It looked brand new.
Well, you knew it wasn't brand new. You
No.
knew it was used.
It was a few years old.
When did you take the computer home?
It was about a month after. We brought it home.
Just to answer my questions. Your son isn't here,
Okay.
so I have to do this my way. Mr. Bridges, what date did they take the computer home?
Forgive me. Oh, great. I'm a little nervous. I apologize.
Don't be nervous. I only eat litigants on Tuesdays. Is this Tuesday?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carol Beausoleil says business owner Jeff Bridges sold a worthless computer to her minor son.
Go ahead.
Okay. $328 is what I have.
$328 is the first payment of $50,
Oops,
Mr. Bridges.
I'm sorry. Actually, Your Honor, if I may show these to you, because
Why? If you can't find it, why are you giving it to me? I don't get paid to get tortured, Mr. Bridges.
Well,
she
you
says
know-
it was a month later, so let's say it was a month later.
Okay,
They
yeah.
made the final payment, you gave them the computer.
Yes.
All right, now, Ms. Beausoleil, you now bring the computer home. Who made the last payment, you or your son?
I gave my son the money to go and put down.
All right, after you had already been there to see it.
Right.
Fine.
If I may, Your Honor, she actually came into this the store to make the last payment and a check.
Well, you had to bring it in the car. We had, you know,
Oh, so you went and made the last payment.
with my son.
Fine. No, you went. You're the adult. Your son is a minor. He cannot enter into a contract.
Right. Okay.
That's the problem. If your son had gone in there alone, Mr. Bridges might have had a problem. But your son didn't go there alone. He went there with you, Miss Beausoleil.
Right.
You knew you weren't getting any guarantee with the computer.
Oh, yeah, there's a guarantee. I have a guarantee here.
Let me see it.
And I have this over here that I underlined.
Let's see what the guarantee is. Well, where's the guarantee?
At the very bottom.
It says all repairs are guaranteed for 30 days.
But, I mean, as far as the warranty, too. There's a warranty on it.
Listen, help me out here. Just let her point it to you, Bird. You can point it to me, and then make my life easier.
May I speak? No. Okay, sorry.
Okay, he reassured me, I mean, you know, because we were going to have it fixed, and then...
Miss Beausoleil, there was no warranty with this computer. The piece of paper that you gave me said that all repairs done by them are guaranteed for 30 days. You have a document there that does not have a warranty. Is that correct?
Okay, but on the day we picked it up, from that date on, we still had the 30 days.
No! You don't have 30 days. You didn't have a computer repaired. You bought a computer, a used computer that came without a warranty, which is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's getting harder. Now, you bring the computer home.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when you got it home?
So he set everything up, the technician helped him, and then the system stated it wasn't internet ready, that he needed a lot more RAM. So that was fine. So Linus offered his assistance and added these few things for the computer. And then when I called Jeffrey...
Linus? Is that your name?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, that's my
Yes
son's
is all
name.
I need from you.
So
So
then
he came over and he added stuff for the,
Yeah,
to the
which was
computer.
nice. I mean, we didn't think there was a problem with the computer.
Good.
We thought
Next.
it just needs a few RAMs. So then I called Mr. Bridges to tell him, and he says, well, you know what, Carol, the new modem, it's in the mail. It hasn't arrived yet, but you can use the one we have. But, you know, I just closed my business. He was open for a month. And I figured, well, we'll
Did
just
it
have him-
work? Listen to me. Did it work after Linus put in the RAMs or doodads or whatever it did? Did it work?
It was
for a day, for 2 days, for 5 days.
It worked for some game procedures, but it was very slow.
I don't care if it was slow or not.
Yeah.
It's an old thing, as my husband says. You know, when he has a computer and it's more than 6 months old, he says to me, oh, it's a dinosaur. I need a new computer. You know?
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
So what are you complaining about?
Well, When I talked to DSL, they said they couldn't, that we couldn't deal with DSL. So in other words, my son couldn't go on internet. He couldn't go on the internet.
What do you want from me? What do you want from Mr. Bridges? You should have made all of these inquiries before you bought the computer. Before you bought the computer. You bought a computer that did not have any warranties whatsoever on it.
Yeah, but he gave me his phone number and said, Carol, if anything goes wrong, just give me a call. So I did. He hung up on me. I had to call the police, and then he did.
What'd you call the police for?
Because he called me a controlling, and he pressed the button. He pressed the button.
So
and it's
you
like,
bothered the police with that?
No, but it seems like when he sold the computer, and after we had it in our house, oh, well, no big deal. I mean,
that's what happens. He's a merchant. Ms. Bosley, do your homework better the next time. If you buy something that's used, especially a computer, what I suggest you do is, I suggest you read all kinds of magazines, get a hold of Consumer Reports, get a hold of everything else, and make an informed judgment. When you're buying something used, it's no different from buying it off the street, unless you get a guarantee from someone that they will honor repairing, maintaining it, or whatever for a period of time.
Well,
the fact that he went out of business, he doesn't have to stay in business to satisfy you. If he can't make a living, he's entitled to go out of business.
Yeah.
You bought a computer with no recourse because you have no guarantee. And anything that's not in your contract, the fact that he gave you his phone number, you cannot amend a written contract, which is what you have, with an oral statement, call me if you have any problems. That's what everybody says. That's like the check is in the mail. You know, call me with any problems. Ms. Bosley, you should be wise enough not to get involved with something like this.
But see, it was because of Linus being my son's friend. Linus knows more about computers. My son is kind of illiterate when it comes to computers.
Then buy him a new computer with a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Case is dismissed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gladue versus Culpepper Sedgwick. Step forward, please.
Administrative Assistant Heidi Gladue is suing her former friends, 23-year-old customer service rep Michelle Culpepper and 19-year-old customer service rep Wayne Sedgwick for trashing her belongings.
Miss Gladue, for some reason you were living with the defendants for a brief period of time with your daughter. This didn't work out. They asked you to leave. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you left, but when you left a lot of your property there. And it is your claim that at some point they took your property and threw it in the dumpster.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want them to pay you the value of the property that you claim they disposed of.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say they gave you plenty of opportunity to get your stuff out. They had no obligation to keep it. And finally, when you didn't come pick it up, they disposed of it. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, how did it come about that you and your daughter went to live with them?
I was going through some personal problems at the time, and Michelle and I had become really good friends, and I told her I had to move out of my apartment, and she said, well, you can come stay with me, your daughter, and you can come stay with us. You don't have to worry about anything, you know, just come and stay with us for a little while until you get up and off on your feet again.
That sounds like a very nice thing. She sounds like a lovely person.
Mm-hmm.
And so when did you move in with them?
It was the first weekend of July.
Okay. You moved with your daughter. Did you come with any furniture or just your personality?
Everything that I owned that was in my two-bedroom apartment went with me. I had told Michelle beforehand.
You mean she had no furniture?
Well, she had furniture in her house too, but we had one of the rooms of the apartment that she was staying at, so most of my stuff went in there, and then in the kitchen where they did not have a table and stuff, that's where my couch went.
They're really nice people. Okay, what happened?
There was a misunderstanding one day where we were, according to Michelle, inconsiderate of her feelings.
Like?
Well, her mom was missing one morning, and nobody could find her. And Wayne, Lois, and I were sitting in the living room. And
Who's
to kind of
Wayne?
lighten the mood.
Who's Wayne?
Wayne is the other defendant. To lighten the mood, Wayne and I decided to tell Lois about this incident the night before that Michelle had bent over to pick up something and kind of fell, and we were kind of laughing about it. And she felt that we were being insensitive to the fact that her mother was missing.
So?
She asked us to leave, that we could stay the weekend if we needed to, and that she wanted us out.
Go ahead.
I told her that I was currently on unemployment at the time, so I was waiting for my unemployment check to come to me. I told her I needed some time, and she said that was no problem.
Okay.
On the 16th, I received my unemployment check in the mail. I went and I got a U-Haul truck, and I got my storage area, which I have all receipts for. I told her that I would be there the following morning at 11:30, that if anything should change by that, I would give her a call. Unfortunately, that morning, my mother was admitted for pneumonia in the hospital, which I have documentation of, and I did not get out of that out of the hospital until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I called her at work at about 3:30 and told her what was going on and that I would be there tomorrow at 11:30, and she said fine. About an hour later, she called me back and said that her and Wayne had something to do and that they wouldn't be back at the apartment until around 1:30. So I told her, fine, I'll be there between 1 and 1:30. So as far as I was concerned...
On the 18th?
On the 18th, that I would be there between 1 and 1:30. On the morning of the 18th at around 9:30, I received a voicemail message from the defendant, which I have a copy of on tape. So, and
which said?
Pretty much said that her mother had received 3 more threatening phone calls, her apartment manager received 4, and that I could get all my stuff out of the effing dumpster.
Okay. Now who's going to speak?
I will.
Good, thank you.
When everything happened where I asked them to leave, it was just like she said, you know, the thing happened with my mother there in the living room joking around. And I let them know that they had 1 week, exactly 7 days, to get them and their property out of my house.
Okay.
They left that day and came back, I believe, 2 days later and grabbed some clothes and stuff. After the week was up was when I started calling Heidi. Because she had called and it was like, one day she told me, you know, oh, well, I'm waiting to get my check and it didn't come and da-da-da-da-da. And then I ended up having to, I was at my mom's for something. I can't remember exactly why, but the phone rings and I pick it up and the lady on the phone asked if I was Michelle's mother. And I said yes, because I didn't know who it was. So I just kind of went, yeah, who is this? And she goes, well, I was just letting you know, B, if you call my woman again.
I don't understand.
If I was letting you know, if you call my woman again, I'm gonna F you up. And it was her girlfriend calling. I'd already had problems with it before, and I did know the voice when I heard it. And so I went home and I called Heidi and I asked her, you know, what is this with calling my mother's house? She was on the one with my mother's number because my number, I'd called her to her cell phone from my mom's house. So
it was somebody that you had lived with?
It's my significant other, ex now.
Was that the person that you moved out of that home because you were having difficulty?
Yes.
I was trying to help her. I thought her and her daughter get away from me.
Okay, go ahead.
But she claimed, oh, I haven't even talked to, and she said something about, you know what, I'm sick of even dealing with you guys. You can just throw the out because I don't want it. I don't want to deal with you. And she started ranting and raving, so I hung up the phone.
When was this? Do you have any idea what date this was?
The 12th. It was the day she was supposed to have her stuff out.
Okay.
And
what happened next?
The next morning, she called saying that she still hadn't gotten her check and da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, last night you were screaming you didn't even want the stuff, and then today you called me calm, telling me that as soon as you get your check, you'll be there and all this stuff. So I left it alone. I was like, fine, just come get it when you can. When she still didn't come get it, there was 2 other phone calls where she had ran it. I don't want it, and I don't want to deal with you, and you guys can this and that, and just yelling. And so I left it alone. I ended up where I came home on the 16th or the 17th, I can't remember, and Wayne told me to check the machine because there was someone on the machine and he wasn't sure if it was Heidi or her girlfriend. Well, on the machine, it was a message from her saying, you know what, F you guys, I don't want to deal with you, I don't want to see you throw this stuff out because I don't want it. And she repeated herself about 3 or 4 times. And
Do you have that message?
I erased it because I didn't think it was going to come to all this. Honestly, when I listened to the message, I wasn't going to throw it away. It was later on that on the 17th, I was at work and my mother called me. She said someone was calling her house threatening her. I asked her to look at her caller ID. She looked at it and she recited her cell phone number to me. So I called my play sister, a friend of mine, and I told her I'm leaving work early. You know what? I'm not going to have my mom being threatened. Let's just get her stuff out of my house. I've given her more than enough time. This was now the 17th of July. I told her on the 5th she had basically 5 days. So I didn't, it was like I felt I'd given her enough time. She had on 3 or 4 different occasions said she'd come get it, then she'd say she didn't want it. So I didn't want to play with her anymore. I didn't want my family threatened like that. So my friend came over, I left work early, we threw her stuff out.
You think she had all this aggravation before you and your daughter moved in?
I do. I think she had it planned personally.
Had what planned?
Had to plan to throw some of my stuff away because I had told her before I moved in that I would get a storage area for her.
No, Miss Gladys, listen to me. That doesn't, just think it through. You think she invited you into her home for the purpose of throwing away your stuff?
I don't think for throwing away. I don't think she threw away. I had a $2,000 entertainment center. I had a 27 color inch TV. I don't know anybody that would leave that stuff at their place. I had a bed. I had 2 beds there.
Just a second. Would you call Salvation Army?
I was going to until the threat to my mom was made.
Ms. Gladue, bottom line, she has no responsibility to keep your stuff in the house.
Right, but we had a verbal agreement for me to pick it up. She told me that I could, you know, she told me that I could keep my stuff there. I told her I was waiting for my check to come in the mail. Unfortunately, EDD took 10 days to get me my check.
She's not responsible for your bad fortune. My question to you is, do you think she had this grief in her life with threats to her mother?
I do think she had grief, but I was not responsible for those threats, ma'am.
You were...
I can't control somebody else who I'm not with. I
But
haven't
she was
been
riding
with
in
her.
a car with when she was supposedly broke up with her.
No, I was not.
I mean, if I was doing it, I had to get my mother's number from her.
She couldn't have because I don't keep phone numbers on my phone.
Whatever. She had problems. She was trying to do the right thing. Miss Gladue, she is under no obligation to keep your property. She's not your mother.
I never said she was. She was supposed to be a friend, and friends
She was a friend.
A friend throws your stuff away when you have a verbal agreement to be there at 11:30 in the morning.
I've said it, Miss Gladue. That's all. Your case is dismissed.
The University of Arizona is the way to go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mullendor versus Mayfield. Step forward, please.
21-year-old baker Janelle Mullendor is suing her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, 21-year-old homemaker Melinda Mayfield, for smashing out her car windows. Melinda is countersuing, claiming Janelle trashed her apartment.
Miss Mullendor, you and the defendant have a boyfriend in common, and one of you has a child with him. Which one has the child?
I have a child with Christopher.
Where's Christopher?
He is at work.
What kind of work does Christopher do?
He's a furniture salesman, and he moves furniture.
Invisible as he should be. In any event, Miss Mullendor, is your claim that the defendant vandalized your car?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, she was arrested for vandalizing your car.
Yes.
And you went to some sort of a mediation, a criminal mediation.
Yes.
And at the mediation, you promised to do something. What did you promise to do, Miss Mayfield?
I agreed that I would pay Janelle back for the balance owed on her windows that she had to pay. And in the same note, she agreed that she would stay out of my life, out of Christopher's life, and out of our son's life. Leave us alone. And
okay, now I assume that that was reduced to a writing.
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Because suffice it to say that the payment for the window was never made, and you have a defense to that. So let me see what you agreed to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out!
I was a witness to it.
Did you hear what I said to you? Out!
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Mullendor says her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, Melinda Mayfield, smashed out her car windows and refuses to pay. Melinda says Janelle won't stay out of her life.
Did you do community service?
No.
They call you Mindy?
Yeah, that's my nickname.
Yeah. Why didn't you do community service?
I had spoken to the woman a few times, and she said they had a list that they were going to mail out to me of places to call on community service, and they never did. And
so you just didn't do that, and you didn't pay her the $520 that you agreed to pay her.
Nope. I have pictures.
Just a second. You don't need any pictures. She said she went through a mediation. Instead of getting arrested, having a record, she agreed to pay for the windows and apologized for breaking them. That's what it says here. So she didn't do community service, and she didn't pay the $520. You didn't have to show me anything. When did you break the windows? And don't tell me I didn't break the windows.
Well, I did not break the windows.
Okay, you did break the windows. When did you break the windows?
She broke them on the November 20th of '01.
Tell me the circumstances for breaking the windows.
She came over to Christopher's apartment, which I was there. We were not allowing her into the apartment because she was very angry. And she banged on the door and she said if I didn't come out, she was going to break all my windows out in my car. And I was like, Christopher, you need to go out there and talk to her. This is your business. Well, she went and got the tire iron out of her car, and she broke out my front windshield, my side windshield, and my back windshield.
And you saw her do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was not there. I was at my brother's house with
I don't
him.
believe him. I don't believe you. Now, let's go for it. It doesn't make any difference. You agreed to pay for the windows.
So she would stay away from me
for the
and my
windows.
son
You
and
didn't
my
pay for the
boyfriends.
windows. Now you give me the defense.
The reason I did not pay, because in this agreement, she strictly said she was not going to come around me, my child, or my boyfriend. She said she was going to stay out of her life. She asked for some property that was in the apartment, which I did not know whether or not any of it was hers. I asked Christopher. He said yes, that some of it was, not all of it. We agreed to make a time with her to come give her the things. On Saturday...
So now Christopher's gone back to you?
Yes.
So from being with her, he decided to go back to you?
We've been together since the baby was born.
Was the baby born in November?
January 1st, 2000.
Oh, okay. So while you were pregnant, he was with her?
Right.
And then after the baby was born, he came back to you?
Right.
The prize, who's selling furniture someplace. Okay, so now he's back living with you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So March 23rd, 3 days after our mediation, me and my brother went to my apartment to pick up laundry. Shanda met us over there. Whenever I got there, my door was unlocked. I went inside. My entire apartment was ransacked and trashed. Pictures of me and Christopher holding our son for the first time were demolished, smashed, ripped, torn. And when I spoke to the lady about the mediation, she said that...
what does that have to do with you paying the $520?
The things missing were the things she asked for in the agreement. She obviously didn't stay away. She broke in. She refuses to get out of his life. She lives with his brother. She calls, harasses. She comes by, drives by our house repeatedly.
You choose to have a baby with a loser. That's your problem. You get involved with and that makes you a loser. Hopefully, you'll grow up so that your child won't be a loser.
My child's
but right now, oh yeah, raised by two losers. Unless you wisen up, somebody who lives with one woman while he's impregnated another woman.
She didn't live with him.
Just a minute. Hangs around with her while he's got a pregnant lady who's due to deliver in about 3 months, and then says, well, now I'm going to go live with her, and doesn't have the moral fortitude to come to court with either one of them because he had to work selling his furniture, or was he running IBM? I'm not sure which one you told me. Right? That person is a loser. Now, you made an agreement which would keep you from having a record, and that was that you were going to pay for her windows. That's what you do. And if you believe that she was responsible for burglarizing your apartment and for vandalizing your apartment, you call and you make a police report, and if they find her prints there, then they will arrest her. But you don't take it upon yourself to say, listen, I think she's the one who broke into my apartment.
I know she is. She took everything that she wanted.
Pay attention.
She has no proof she busted out the windows either.
Get out. Get out. This is not a dance party.
I'm sorry.
Get out. Out.
I was a witness to it.
Did you hear what I said to you? Out.
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
I'm sorry about that.
Just out. Out is out. Bottom line, you make an agreement with the criminal justice system. You abide by that decision. And if you feel as if she's breached the decision, you don't resort to self-help and say, I don't have to keep my end of the bargain.
This is what the mediators told me. They said...
Listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Tell me what the mediators told you. These are the same mediators who didn't send you a list of places to go to do your community service. Everybody's screwing up except you. Yep. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $520. That's
Hello,
all.
I have a counterclaim.
That's case number 3.
That is very smart. That's all.
All right, case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Singleton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
All right, Ms. Martinez, your claim is one for assault and injury that you allege that Mr. Singleton caused you. I'm going to try to put this case in perspective so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of it swiftly because I have other business today. You brought your car into his shop to have your car windows tinted.
Yes.
Had you ever had dealings with him before?
Never.
You brought it in early one morning, and when you called at about midday to find out the car was ready, Mr. Singleton or somebody else in the shop said that they hadn't started working on it yet, but it would be ready sometime later that day.
Correct.
Well, you were annoyed that your car hadn't been worked on yet. You came down to the shop to get the car. It was at that point that you claimed that there was an altercation. You got into your car and you claimed that Mr. Singleton became obstreperous, slammed the car door onto your left arm, causing you to be injured, causing pain and suffering and a whole bunch of other things. Mr. Singleton says you're a very good actress, right?
Yes.
When had you made arrangements to take the car into his shop, Miss Martinez?
I called him the evening before. I called him on the 26th.
And he said bring it in what time in the morning?
He said he does it only by appointments and to be there at 8 o'clock.
And you were there at 8 a.m.?
I was.
What time did he tell you to pick up the car?
He asked me to call him about 2 o'clock.
So what time did you call?
I actually called at 12 as I was leaving for lunch. I thought maybe when I was done with my lunch hour that I could go by and pick up my car, because the night before he had told me he would only need my car for 4 hours.
Okay. Called at noon, and what did he say?
He was very angry at me and told me that I was not supposed to call him until 2 o'clock. I was told not to call him. And I tried explaining to him, well, I'm leaving for lunch right now. I was going to be gone for an hour. I thought maybe at 1 p.m. I could come by and pick it up. Well, we haven't started it yet. And he said, call me back at 2. And I thought at that point, because he was so rude to me on the telephone, I didn't feel comfortable with him having my vehicle. So I called him back and I told him that I was on my way, that I wasn't going to have my car done there. If he needed my car for 4 hours, he wasn't going to have my car ready by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, if he hadn't even started it
Fine,
yet.
so you went down to get your car. You told him, don't work on my car. I'm coming down to pick it up.
Yeah, and I said it very nicely. I wasn't angry.
So you went down to pick up your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I walked into the building. There, I have pictures of the building. I walked into the building on the left-hand side.
Would you talk to me and stop looking at pictures? I don't care which side you walked in.
Okay, well, I walked into the business, and I was standing at the counter. There was 2 gentlemen tinting windows. Mr. Singleton was not there. And I stood there for a moment, and I kind of said out loud, I'm here to pick up my keys for my vehicle. And I looked over, and there was a board on the left-hand side, and there was my keys, and there was an invoice there. And I go, oh, here they are right here. No one said anything, so I picked up my keys, and I actually took the invoice as well. It had no writing on it but my address. I was not comfortable with him having my address, so I wanted to remove my address out of there, and if he brought the invoice, it would show very clearly that I was not messing with his numbers if he had reasons.
You didn't think about all this stuff. Come on, you picked up your keys, and the invoice was on it. What did you do next?
I started walking to my vehicle, and I believe his witness here was yelling at me, not the paperwork, not the paperwork. And I continued walking. Well, he came over and he snatched the paper out of my hand. And I said, well, that's okay. I go, I just wanted my address out of there. He got the paper and there was no words. I went to my car, I got in my car. Mr. Singleton came out of a totally different building, and he came up to my car, in front of my car, over to my car, and opened my car door. He was yelling at me.
Opened which door?
He opened my driver's door, where I was sitting. He opened my door.
You had already gotten into the car and closed the door.
I was in my car. I had started my car.
Go ahead.
And so he came over, opened my car door. He started yelling at me. He was furious at me. For what reason, I don't know why.
What did he say, Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was yelling at me that I was supposed to not call him until 2 o'clock. I couldn't even tell you everything he was yelling at me. I don't remember. I was shocked that he was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
So I tried closing my car door. I reached to close my car door, and he had his arm like this on my car door standing, and he pulled it back away from me. I said, it really doesn't matter. And he was so angry, and he just kept yelling at me. And so I sat there. There was nothing I could do. And then he's called me, and he slammed my door as hard as he could, and it hit me in my arm area here, and it shoved my area here. When he did that, he walked away. I sat there for a minute, 1, because I was in shock, 2, because he had just hurt me. And then I got out of my car and told him I was calling the police and having him arrested for assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. You didn't find out that somebody died. You're a little bit of an actress.
And later today,
He proposed to me and broke it off.
So what? If he wasn't going to be a good husband, you're all going to go home and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. Goodbye and good luck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Martinez says window tinting technician Kent Singleton detained her at his place of business and then assaulted her. Kent says Karen is a good actress.
Go ahead. He yelled at me continually still. I asked my girlfriend, because my phone was not charged, I asked my girlfriend if I could use her telephone. So I got the phone from her and I called 911. He's yelling at me to get off his property. I was not in my car at that time and just kept yelling to get off his property. And I said, I'm trying, because I was getting the phone and dialing. So I finally did get off his property, and I waited for the police for about an hour and a half to get there. They took a report. I have the report.
I'd like to see the report.
Okay. The girlfriend that was with me, she had fully intended to come today. She's a school teacher, and she wasn't able to come today. Her statement.
I don't take her statement.
Okay.
How come you decided not to prosecute?
When the officer came out and took the report, I told him that I wanted to have him arrested, and he talked me out of it. He said that if I did that, he could turn around and have me arrested or have me prosecuted.
For what?
For a false statement, or I don't know why he said that. He just said that it could turn around on me.
Just says the victim desired no prosecution.
I've also talked to somebody at the station since then.
Don't tell me what you said to somebody at the station, madam. That's hearsay. Okay.
Well, I wanted to
have
find
a couple
out.
of things. What?
I wanted to find out because I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what
that
it means. It means no prosecution. What do you mean you don't know what that meant? No prosecution.
Well, I didn't have the report at that time, so
but that's
I
what
didn't
it means.
know.
The victim desires no prosecution means that you decided not to prosecute. Mr. Singleton, okay, you have a slightly different version of the events, sir, but there's one thing that you do say. She was in her car with the car door closed, and you told the police that you opened her car door. Why did you do that, sir?
Because Rich told me what she said to him and what she did up in front, and he said that...
Wait a second. What she did was she took her keys and a piece of paper that was a work order. Your employee had already gotten back the work order. There's nothing on the work order except her name and address and what work was to be done, because no work was done on the car. Is that right?
Yeah, but it shows proof. I mean, if she went and had her car tinted someplace else and, say, got a bad job, she could sit there and say, I have a receipt.
Correct. She could have done that, sir. However, your employee had already gotten back the work order, so all she had was her car and her keys. Why did you open her car door?
Because she basically took the course of events from the very beginning to the very end and twisted them around. And
No. Let me explain something. It's not what happened. And you told her to be there at 8 o'clock. Happens all the time. You tell everybody that day, bring your car in at 8 o'clock. When you get around to doing their car, you do it. She hadn't specified to you what time she needed her car back. And this I'm getting all from what you told the police initially, sir. So, because she wasn't one of the customers that day that said, I need my car back in 4 hours, you pushed her over until later. And you did other cars before you did hers.
I never do that.
Well, you did. You were doing other cars before you did hers. But that's okay. You're entitled to do that.
No, I don't do that, ma'am.
Okay. You're entitled to do it if you want to do it. I mean, you hadn't started working on her car at noon, and she brought the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We tell people to be there between 8 and 9 in the morning.
Fine.
Okay, the cars are done according to the way they came in. I have a very, very strong company policy of not putting anybody in front of somebody.
Listen to me, Mr. Singleton. You can tell people, be there at 8 o'clock. It takes 4 hours. You do not explain to them that you're coming in on a first-come, first-served basis. And that may be your policy. Because if you worked strictly on appointment, you would have said to her, be there at 2 o'clock and I will have your car ready for you at 6 o'clock. That's an appointment. But you don't. You have the cars stacked up so that the cars are waiting for you rather than you waiting for the cars. That's your business. You're entitled to do that. I'm not faulting you for that, sir. I'm faulting you because you opened her car door. The situation had already de-escalated. If there was any problem up front, any problem at all up front, that had already been resolved with your witness, who took the paperwork back. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had a car, she had her keys, she was hysterical. So she's out. So
Ma'am, may I tell you something?
I don't want to hear anything else from you because I don't like exaggerators either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I hear you.
Good. Because what you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. I mean, nobody killed your child or you didn't find out that somebody died.
No, I'm
It's
very
months later.
sensitive.
It's months later. You had an altercation with a mechanic, which happens frequently, unfortunately, and he slammed the door, and I believe that he hurt your arm when he slammed the door, that the door hit your arm because you're not totally in the car, you're not careful of that, and he slammed it, and at that moment it hurt your arm. I don't believe that you almost died as a result of that.
No, I
Understand
didn't.
that? Okay, so I don't see why it required all the tears, unless, as the defendant says, you're a little bit of an actress.
No, I'm very
That doesn't mean that
sensitive.
he's allowed to do what he did. He can't. Because you slammed the door in her arm and you hurt her. So aside from saying, I'm sorry, you got to compensate her. Let me see your medical bills. What day of the week was it that you went to his place of business?
It was a Thursday.
Were you working on Friday, June 28th?
Yes, I was at work.
Right. And am I correct that the first time you went to any sort of a clinic or doctor was not until July 1st?
Yes.
And what time did you go to the clinic on July 1st?
I went as soon as I could get the first appointment. I went between 8 and 8:30 in the morning.
And then you went to work that day?
No, I did not. I was taken off work for 3 days. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't drive.
But you were fine the next day?
No, I was not fine the next day.
You stayed at work all day on the 28th?
Yes, my arm was very sore.
Okay.
But it was 3 days later I woke up and something in my neck and my shoulder here was hurting me, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed. I called my supervisor. My supervisor from work came and picked me up and took me to the doctors. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything.
What else do you want to tell me, Mr. Singleton?
I feel that when she called and said, "Is my car ready?" She says, "I have to have it by 2 o'clock. I have somewhere to go." I said, "Ma'am, it will be ready by 2 o'clock. It takes us an hour to do each car, then it will sit out outside for an hour. It's hot during the summertime. The tent dries quick." I says, "It will be ready by 2. She hangs up and calls back a minute later. "I'm going to come and pick up my car right now."
Fine.
Now, I've had people upset before because their car isn't being done first. But we do have a bad problem with people making appointments. If we try to do 8, 10, 12, 2, and people don't show, then we're sitting around for 2 hours not making any money. And it is a business.
I understand that, but she said, "I'm coming to get my car." She has a right to do that.
She does have a right to do that.
And I wasn't angry.
I didn't ask you to say anything.
Okay.
He's been very quiet when you've been testifying.
You're right.
Go ahead.
What she did to Rich and what she did to me.
What'd she do to you?
Basically, she twisted. She goes, "I can't believe you haven't touched my car yet."
So?
And I said, "Well, ma'am," I says, "we will have it done at that time." I says, "It's very frustrating, when you're sitting there trying to run a business and people," I'm very clear with people. I tell them.
So I'm not interested in being clear with people. I want to know why you didn't just let her get into her car and leave. You hadn't touched her car, hadn't done any work on her car. She has a right to let that happen. So, should have just let her go.
I probably should have.
And you were angry, and you slammed the car door on her.
Well, I know the door didn't touch her.
You don't know that at all.
I looked right at her.
You don't know that it didn't hit her at all. You were angry. You slammed the car door. That's what you did. That's what you did, Mr. Singleton.
Can I have Rich stand up for a sec?
No.
Because he was standing right there.
No. I believe that you slammed the car, that you were really angry, that she came in. It was one less job that you were going to do that day. You felt that she was being unreasonable, that you were told her to call at 2 o'clock. Instead of calling at 2, she called at 12, 2 hours beforehand, which took somebody away from what they were supposed to be doing in order to answer her questions when she was told not to call until 2 o'clock.
We don't tell people,
What, she was told not to call until 2, that you weren't going to have any news for her until 2 o'clock as to when her car was going to be ready. Whatever it is, you don't want a dissatisfied customer. Not happy? She leaves. You lost your temper, and you slammed the car door, and it hurt her. It didn't hurt her $5,000 worth. Did you go to see a lawyer, by the way?
No.
Lawyer would tell her, this is not a $5,000 injury. How much out-of-pocket expense did you have?
$550.25, ma'am.
And how many days were you out of work?
3 days.
How much do you earn a day?
$136, ma'am.
Your out-of-pocket expenses are approximately $1,500. To that, I'm adding another $1,000 for your pain and suffering. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank
Parties
you,
are excused. You may step out.
Well, it's pretty evident the way she's crying and everything. She is a drama queen.
The whole thing was upsetting, and I'm glad that it's over now.
I think she blew everything up in her mind.
He did that to me and thought that he could do it and get away with it.
Nothing happened.
And I hope that he doesn't do that to somebody else.
She referred to his size and basically called him a type of animal.
I'm just happy, and I hope he doesn't do that to somebody else.
I'm not saying that I did not get hot, but she was not just a total innocent victim.
Hands on her, I didn't.
A big fat man like him lied.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anzua versus Aldretti, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Karen Ainzua and her husband Mako Ainzua are suing Karen's brother, 25-year-old magician James Aldretti, for the cost to fix a rental car he wrecked.
Miss Ainzua, the defendant is your brother. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, you did him a favor and you rented a car for him for credit reasons. Is that right, sir?
No, because I was under 25 at the time, and they charge you an additional fee just to rent. It would have just costed me way too much at the time.
Actually, it was also for credit reasons.
So you did him a favor and then he wrecked the car. And the rental company withdrew directly from your bank to cover the damage to the car. Ultimately, you settled with them, and the entire fiasco cost you $2,066.
Correct.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
She rented the car for you. You used it exclusively.
Actually, she offered to rent the car for me.
But you used the car exclusively. It
Yes.
was for you. When did she rent the car for you?
I don't know the exact date. I know it was, I think sometime in August. Say maybe the 23rd, maybe 20th. I don't have any.
And how long were you going to use the car?
I had no definite plan at the time because everything at the same time was just going on. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to bring personal matters into it.
When was
but-
the accident?
God, I don't remember the date. Maybe the 20th.
All right, now we get back to somebody who can give me some answers. When did you rent the car for him?
I rented the car September 12th, 2000.
Well, he was close. When were you notified that he was in an accident?
September 17th at night. He got in the accident early that morning.
Well, basically what I have to say about the case here is...
You were in an accident
Yes.
sometime on the 17th of September.
Mhm.
Tell me about the accident.
Well, I was coming home from work at that time. I worked at I was a manager at a strip club, and I was driving home. I got off of work kind of late, like 4 in the morning, and I was driving home on the freeway, and somebody cut me off on the freeway, and I ended up hitting the dirt, and it spun my car around. It spun the car around through the whole freeway and hit the center divider, then it knocked me off into a ditch. I was unconscious for like 10 minutes, and I woke up.
Were you injured?
I was, just internally a little bit. And,
Were you hospitalized?
just for like a couple hours until somebody came and picked me up.
No injuries that required any follow-up.
No.
So why aren't you responsible for this, sir?
Well, because first of all, I never asked her to rent me a car. She took the initiative too. I just asked her to come pick me up at the time because my car broke down. And
he begged me. He begged me.
Shh, please. I want to hear him. Mr. Aldretti,
Yes.
I want to hear you, sir.
Okay. Well.
I am committed to hearing your defense in this case. I want you to understand that.
Okay. And anyways, she said, well, and I said, well, I want to rent a car, but I said it was going to cost me too much. And actually, at the time, when you go to rent a car, they want a credit card. And at the time, I had an ATM, and I didn't have the money in there because what they do is they withhold money for you from the time you rent the car.
I'm committed to hearing your defense, but not being bored to death, sir. Would you get on with your defense?
Okay. She said that she'd rent me a car, and I said okay. And I feel like she took responsibility for her actions. She basically put her name and everything else on the line for her brother, obviously. And I started looking into it, and I don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I need to borrow your car, or if I said, hey, go ahead and borrow my car since you need a car, I'm taking the responsibility for their actions. If they get into a car accident, it's my fault. I'm not going to go after them because they got into a car accident. First of all, it wasn't even my fault that I got into a car accident. I mean, I just don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if I'm going to let somebody use something of mine or get something for them or whatever, and something happens to it, I'm taking the responsibility for it. And the way I feel is that's what the insurance is for. I mean, she's my family, she's my sister, that she's like the only closest family that I have. She owns a business. I've done plenty of things for her as far as her business. I've gone to work for her without asking for anything.
I told you, I don't want to be bored to death. When you're finished, I'd just like you to say, Judge, that's my defense.
Well,
when you're finished.
My defense, Your Honor, is basically she took the responsibility for it. She put her name on the line, and that's what happened. And I feel she's responsible for it because I had nothing to do with it. I didn't take the responsibility for the car. I never signed a contract saying if I get into an accident, I'm going to cover it or anything like that.
Are you ready for the sentence now?
I guess.
You know what the sentence is? Judge, that is my defense.
Oh.
Are you finished? I don't want to rush you.
Okay.
Mr. Andretti, I don't want to rush you, sir.
I just want to get things clear, that's why, because...
No, I want you to be clear.
Okay, and Your Honor, that the reason why I feel like...
Don't repeat yourself, though. I mean, because my mind is still relatively intact even at my age. I don't like things repeated time after time after time. When you've said what your defense is, I'd like you to just let me know. Anything else?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
So can I have the sentence, please?
That's my defense.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,066. Mr. Andretti, there is something wrong with you. Now.
It's Aldretti.
There is something wrong with you.
It's Aldretti, though. I just want to...
Whatever.
Okay.
Your sister wasn't at the bar where you were working that night. She didn't drive home 4 o'clock in the morning. You were driving home 4 o'clock in the morning. She did you a favor, hoping that you would act responsibly, that if something happened to this car while you were driving it, that she wouldn't be out any money. She expected you to pay for the car that she was renting for you. That was your agreement, wasn't it? That you were going to pay her for the rental, right?
I never agreed to her that I was going to pay for anything.
You mean she was just renting the car for you and she was going to pay for the rental?
Well, I was going to pay for the rental.
That's what I just said, so pay attention.
But I never said I will pay for any damages or anything like that. She signed that waiver herself. I mean, she should be taking responsibility for her actions for saying, hey, I'll rent a car for you.
You know, I read your papers, your complaint and your answer in preparation to do this case. I read your words, and let me tell you the little notes that I made for myself. I said, brother smashes rental car that sister leased for him as a favor. Brother's answer is, duh. That was my note. That was my note. I was hoping I would come out here and hear something different from you, sir. That's why I gave you all the rope you needed.
But I feel like...
Grow up! Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
All right, this is case number 70. This is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Stubbs. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I see a whole bunch of ladies here, but no men. Where is he?
I tried to talk him into coming, but he was too embarrassed to be on TV with this matter. Yes.
They caused the trouble.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And they just drop it and walk away. So, ladies, let's us have a little talk.
Yes.
You want me to leave?
No, you can stay, Bert. You're close enough. You were seeing the defendant's husband.
Right. Yes.
And you claimed at the time you started to see him, you didn't know he was married. You found out he was married. Your claim is that even when you broke up with him, or he broke up with you, whatever it was, that his wife, the defendant, vandalized your property, caused you great stress, was harassing you. She says that it's actually you who were doing the stalking, the harassing, the interfering with her family. So I have a claim and a counterclaim, each in the same amount of money, $1,000. Right?
Right.
And somebody has a protective order. Who has a protective order?
I do.
I'd just like to take a look at that document, please. When did you start to see her husband?
Say 96, September of 96.
And how long did you see him?
For approximately a year.
And you haven't seen him since 1997?
Well, actually, I haven't seen him since like 99. Actually, I've seen him, but not as a relationship. I've seen him. Or is him fixing my car? He has a shop. He's a mechanic.
But since 1999, you haven't had a romantic relationship with him?
No.
You telling me the truth?
Yes. I mean, I'm married and everything. I've gotten married and everything, so.
It's over.
Been over.
All right. You have any information?
Yes.
They've been seeing each other since?
She was just trying to convince me that she was still dating him just last month.
How was that?
She was calling my cell phone, and I have my cell phone bill. When she was in the hospital and she was so sick, but she had enough time to call me continuously.
Did you call her for any reason?
Well, actually, she called me, and she came to my house and left a letter at my house on the 12th of April. This is how this whole thing started. She came to my house, left this letter right here, which is the same date that she broke the window, which is the pictures right here.
Just a second, just a second. Did you send this letter?
I did.
Could we talk for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like grown-up gals.
Mm-hmm.
You have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
He's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have anything to do with her husband?
No.
You believe that?
Well, I believe it now.
Do you have children?
No, I don't. I have custody of my niece, though.
How old is she?
9 years old.
How long have you had custody of her?
Well, like the last 6 years. She's been with me for about 6 years.
And you have a husband?
Yes.
How long are you married?
Since August 26th of 2000.
Is he a nice man?
Very.
What kind of work does he do?
In the oil refinery, the oil field.
And do you work?
No, I don't.
So you stay home and take care of your niece?
Exactly.
Any reason you want to have grief with this lady?
Well, no, I don't have a problem with her.
How old are you?
32.
Any reason why you should want to have grief with this lady? Or grief in your life?
No, but what I'm saying is, can I explain myself?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to have any grief in your life, right?
No, I don't.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been married?
I've been married 6 years.
Does your husband work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a mechanic.
You have to find someplace else, by the way, to have your car fixed. I know you haven't been back there in a while. Find someplace else. There are lots of mechanics.
No problem, you're right.
Because that just starts trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't want to have any further dealings with her, do you?
Never did.
So why don't we come together, ladies, and come to terms with the fact that all of this trouble started because a guy was cheating on his wife, using 2 women at the same time. Because he didn't tell you he was married, right?
No, he didn't.
That's what you told me. And I'm sure he didn't tell you he was fooling around.
Can I say something?
Yes.
When he was cheating with her and she found out he was married, she thought she should help him to destroy his marriage, and she started calling my job to tell me what color underwear my husband has on as if I didn't wash them.
Just a minute. Let me tell you something. He was the user.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he conned her into thinking he was available, he allowed her emotions to run full circle. And all of a sudden she finds out he's married. It's much easier to take things out on each other than it is to take things out on the person who's responsible, and that's the guy who was afraid to come to court today, right?
Right.
Why should you two ladies be dumb enough to suffer for what he did, which is really what you've been doing to each other? Both of you have been doing it to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you. And that's ridiculous. He caused the trouble. You know, he makes a mess and he walks away, leaving 2 ladies to fight over him, and he's probably enjoying it, and he's probably not worth it. Very few of them are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natalie Walker says her ex-boyfriend's wife, Deshaun Stubbs, broke her living room window with a bottle of Snapple. Natalie also claims Deshaun slashed her tires and wrote defamatory statements on her garage door.
Yeah, what do you want? Tell me.
Yes, I would like to just say that's really not the problem, wanting him or nothing, or bothering her or nothing like this. My problem is this Easter I was in the hospital and she came up to the hospital 2 days in a row, you know, to confront me and fight me. We had a fight. I have to report everything at the hospital. This is the problem I'm having with her coming to where I am, you know what I'm saying, as a patient in a hospital and create problems for me.
I read that, and I read that you went to the hospital twice. She was in the hospital.
She was. And I did not assault her, and if I did, I would have been arrested.
Why did you go to the hospital?
She asked me to, and here's my phone bill to prove it. She was calling me, and she was so sick, but yet she wasn't too sick to call me on 439, 442, 518, 519.
Why, just a minute, why did you call her house?
No, her cell phone after she called me. I never called her house. No, I didn't.
Why did you call her cell phone?
Because she had previously called me, and I star 69'd her back. That's how I called her back.
What did you say when you got her on the phone?
I called her and I asked her, I said, why would you call me every year on my birthday like this to create a problem for me? I told you I wouldn't mess with your husband. We were just arguing like that over the phone.
Tell me what else was said.
Then she hung up, and then she called me back, and she was like, well, I don't want to cuss. Well, like she said, like I told you, I'm going to make sure you don't mess with my husband, and this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to come. I know where you at. You know I can find where you are.
How many times did you call her on her cell phone that day?
Twice.
What'd you call the second time for?
Well, because she hung up. She hung up in my face while we were arguing after she said something.
So what'd you call her back for?
To make my point.
So what was your point that you made to her?
That I wasn't messing with her husband, and I'm very tired of her coming around every so often.
You told her that already?
That was the point I was steadily making.
So then she comes up to the hospital?
Yes.
And she came up to the hospital twice?
Yes,
2 days. And the second time you had her arrested?
No.
Well, no, both, they just wrote it out. They didn't arrest her neither time. They escorted her out one night, and then the other night, it's all in this report. What
Fine.
happened. So if you would like to see
No. The second time she came up, she also says it was a mistake. It was the mistake to go to the hospital to see her the first time, right?
It was a mistake.
And it was a mistake to go to see her the second time.
It was a mistake. She baited me there.
I don't care whether she baited you there. Come on. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
You got how many children?
I have 3 stepkids and a child me and my husband have together, but we take care of all 4 kids.
So you have 4 children to take care of. You got better things to do than to go to the hospital to visit somebody that you can't stand. Look, as a result of that, there's an order of protection against you.
I filed one against her as well.
But I don't have it.
Well, that's because I just filed today.
Well, but you filed today. Well, listen to me.
She will
She
get it.
has one
And she'll
against
get it.
you.
She'll get
Order
hers.
of protection. You have to stay 100 yards, 100 feet, 100 miles away from her. You're not supposed to go near her at all.
Which was violated yesterday.
I did not come within 100 yards of you.
Yesterday, she brought 2 of her friends to my house. They were at my house when I got home, And I was going home to take these pictures to bring to you of my window, so I had a camera with me.
Let me see the window pictures.
And so what I did was, while they tried to run off while I was calling the police, I took a picture of them leaving down the alley because I had the camera. And I got an incident report number that they took yesterday.
That would not be a picture of me,
Can
Your
you give
Honor.
her that? Because this is the report
And it's not
number.
a picture of me. And I also have a picture
Because
of her
you was
window.
in the car, that's why.
Yeah, but I wasn't
You have a picture of a broken window here. When was your window broken?
On the 12th of April. The same time she dropped the letter off.
Okay. Did you see her break the window?
Yes, I was there because I have a bars all around and I have a bar door. I can open my door without going out and see her and everything, the way my house is.
How did she break the window?
With a Snapple bottle, Snapple juice bottle. She threw it as she was leaving or whatever. She threw it into the window.
After she put the note in your mailbox?
Yeah, she came in the yard, put the note, banged on the door, of course. I yelled to her that I wasn't going to come out, be trying to fight with her. And she said what she had to say, cussed and did what she had to do, got in her car and pulled to the side, because you see my gate right there next to the alley, and just threw it. That's that side window by the alley right there.
You have a bill for the window?
Yes. Well, I have an estimate. Yes, I do.
I'd like to see an estimate for the window.
This for the window and the actual tires that she put on the flat.
You'll tell me about that in a minute.
Tell you about that?
In a minute.
Oh,
I want to see the estimate from... Now tell me about the tires.
Okay, here's the picture, the estimate, and everything about that. Wow, this was like right after Valentine's. Right.
What year?
After this year. She came over once again, banging on the door, yelling, talking about come outside, what she would do to me. I tells her once again I'm not coming outside, so she takes a knife. This car was right here in front of the house, and just stabbed the tires.
You have a police report on that?
Well, actually, this right here, on the 12th, I just made a report. It's just an incident report. I don't have like this right here. This was from '99 when she ran into my garage.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
God.
I also want you to see this, Judge Judy.
She is lying.
See what?
This is just a report from the hospital and from my niece who was actually there.
Let me see.
I want you to see
When
that.
I beat her up.
There you go.
What you got?
What kind of conversations did you have in the hospital? First time she came.
On Saturday, when she approached me, it was at the nurse station, she said, I want to know what my husband brought you for your birthday, if you got anything. And I'm like, what? How you going to come to the hospital and ask me about what your husband got me for my birthday? And so she started cussing. She said, because that's my husband, and I told you to stop messing with my husband, and we got to verbally arguing, and she swung and hit me. This is how my IV came out that particular day, because I had to have surgery to put another one in. And 2 nurses came, the security came. My niece was standing right there with me because I was walking her to the elevator to leave. That's why I was out of my room, period. And they just broke it up. They detained me, put me into the supervisor's room or something, and they just escorted her out. Then
After that incident, I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
After that incident, did you call her again that night on her cell phone? Did you call her again?
No, I don't believe I called her that night after that.
You don't remember whether
No,
you
I
called
honestly
her that
don't
night?
think that I called her that night. No, I don't.
Okay, what time of the day did she leave the hospital?
That night, this happened about 9:30 at night.
At night?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any phone record after 9 o'clock at night?
I
If
wasn't
she
there
called
at
you,
9.
What time were you there?
It was like 8 o'clock, 7 or 8. It was before
7,
visiting
8,
hours
9.
are
Did you have any
After
phone
visiting
record
hours.
after that she called you?
Actually, Your Honor, I turned my phone off and she just left me.
The answer is either yes or
Okay,
no.
no.
Okay.
I don't have it
Fine.
here.
Fine. Now, the next day she came back. Is that right?
About 10 o'clock Easter morning.
What happened when she came back at 10 o'clock in the morning?
I was at the nurse station, and she approached me and the nurse. The nurse was right there, and she verbally threatened me again. And
What did
said,
she
when
say?
She said, I'm going to find you anywhere you at, and when you get out, I'm going to kick your still. And that's when the nurse immediately called security, so it wasn't no fight or nothing Sunday. Nothing happened. It was just verbal things, and
Okay,
they put her out.
Stop. Between 8 o'clock Saturday evening and 10 o'clock Easter morning, do you have any record of the plaintiff making a telephone call to you?
Yes, I do.
What time?
She called me at 2:27 p.m. and she also called me...
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't understand my
I
question.
didn't. Let me hear it once more.
Then I want you to pay attention.
Okay.
From 8 o'clock Saturday night until 10 a.m. Easter morning, do you have any record that the plaintiff called you?
Yes.
What time?
10:28 a.m.
No.
Oh.
Before 10 o'clock.
Oh, before. She called me at before 10 o'clock. Not before 10, no.
Then she didn't call you to come back to the hospital. You say in your answer that she called you to come back to the hospital, Miss Stubbs.
I'm just confused, Your Honor. She called me.
Stop being confused.
She called me on the 14th.
I'm already past the 14th. You left the hospital. You were escorted out of the hospital.
Well, then
You
she
left-
called me all the next day.
I want you to pay careful attention to me, madam. You're escorted out of the hospital Saturday night. You come back to the hospital Easter morning. That's clear from the report.
Okay.
And what I asked you is, why
My
did you
phone
come
was
back?
off.
Your phone was off,
Yes.
so she did not call you.
She did. She left me messages. She left me messages all morning. She called me. Yes, she did.
Oh, well, I don't have those messages.
That's
You have-
because my phone was off.
You have those messages written down?
No, I
You have more-
erased them.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Then I don't believe you.
Your Honor, her number's all on here. She called me.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
She did call me to come back.
No. No. And if she did and you went, you shouldn't have. All right, let's hear your counterclaim. 1, 2, 3, mental anguish.
Your Honor, I have my doctor's statements.
I don't read doctor's statements.
Okay, well, she used to call my job with her sexual harassment, you know, and I would have to leave my job at times. If she had a date with my husband, you know, being the other woman, she would call me, you know, and rub my nose in.
We're
at
talking
work.
about 2 years ago.
No, we are talking about recent. She's trying to convince me, and she was trying to convince me when she was in the hospital that she was still seeing my husband. She was saying that he is doing all kind of sexual things to her, and that is what she was trying to convince me while she was in the hospital.
Let me tell you something, Miss Stubbs. When you write a letter to her that says, this time of year I usually have problems out of you by now, could this be that I'm finally rid of you? That you wrote to her on 4/12/01.
Yes.
Which suggests to me that for a long period of time, you had not heard from her. You hadn't heard from her for a long time. What'd you start up with her again for? Because you had no reason to start up with her. And then you write something else. I bet you didn't get any something for your birthday. This time, did you? So you were giving her a little bit of a dig that she didn't have your husband for her birthday this time. You're a troublemaker. Get over it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I believe that she slashed your tires. I believe that she broke your window. And I believe she came to the hospital to harass you. You're suing her for $1,000, and I'm going to grant you judgment for $1,000. But I'm telling you this, I tried to start out this case very clearly by saying, ladies, if you allow a man to make a fool out of you, you're a bigger fool. And if you allow your husband to make a big fool out of you, then that's what you are, a big fool. Get over it. She doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Smith versus Smith. Step forward.
60-year-old singer Myrna Smith is suing her daughter-in-law, 33-year-old computer specialist Candy Smith, for an unpaid loan to hire an attorney.
Mrs. Smith, the defendant is your daughter-in-law.
Yes, she is.
According to your complaint, there came a time when your daughter-in-law needed some money. She needed some money for an attorney because she was going to be involved in a custody dispute with her former husband. You have 2 children from your prior marriage, and you loaned her the money,
yes.
$5,000. And it is your claim that she has not repaid you.
She has not repaid.
And your daughter-in-law believes that she has the right to offset that money, and she's going to explain that to me. When did you make this loan?
I made the loan May 1st, 2000.
Do you have the canceled check?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
And this is also my statement.
Okay, what was your agreement with regard to repaying this loan?
She told me what she would do would, on her pay days, she would deposit money into my account. However, that did not happen, so finally I went through my son and I asked when she would start making the repayments, and she decided that she would make the payments, but she wanted to put them into my savings account instead of my checking account, and I felt she had no right to know what was in my savings account. And she was very inquisitive about my money and how it was spent.
Okay, and as of today's date, you have received no money from this
No.
$5,000. And you acknowledge that, but for your defense, you did not repay this money out of paychecks or anything else.
No.
Okay, now I'll hear your defense.
Actually, what happened was that at this time, when we had moved into the house, she had given
What
me...
house?
We had purchased a house together. She had actually sold her previous residence, and she had used the down payment to purchase a house so that we all can live together, and we were sort of helping each other out.
And help yourselves as well.
Right, and help
All right, so
ourselves.
what was the arrangement? She put the down payment on this new house.
Correct.
How much was the down payment on the new house?
$100,000.
She put down the $100,000 on a house that you were all living in together.
Correct, and it was under my husband's name.
Was there a mortgage on this house?
Yes, there was.
How much was the mortgage?
$185,000.
And I gather from your papers that you and your husband make the mortgage payments.
Correct.
How much were the mortgage payments?
$1,703.
$1,703. And how many people from your family, you and your husband, you have a child together?
Yes, we have one child together and 2 children from my previous marriage.
So there are 5 of you all together.
Correct.
And how many people, other than your mother-in-law, were living in the house?
The grandmother and also the uncle.
Grandmother or uncle paying any money towards the house?
He needs to answer. I can't answer.
Step up. Mr. Smith, how much money was your uncle paying to the house?
My uncle was scheduled to pay $400 a month, but unfortunately that rarely happened.
What about your grandmother?
No, nothing.
Okay. How many months did you live in the house?
If include January, 8 months.
How many mortgage payments did you make? Because that's your defense to this action. How many mortgage payments did you personally make?
Roughly 8 months.
You have proof of those payments?
Show her proof that you were paying mortgage.
What is that?
This
is the household account that my son and I had to make payments for anything regarding the house. This is how our bills were paid.
Can I see? And I'll see your checks for the mortgage payments.
Unfortunately, that I do not have. I didn't know that was going to come into question.
You have a bill, though, right?
I have a bill.
No, I don't need a bill. I need the mortgage payments. Your defense, Mrs. Smith,
right,
is that it wasn't working out and the house was going to be sold, wasn't working out with all you folks living together, and your mother-in-law insisted that the deed be turned back to her.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and you believe that you can set off the number of mortgage payments that you made on the house against the $5,000 that you owe her. That's your defense.
No,
in a
not
nutshell.
exactly. Not
Well,
exactly. I'm sorry. Can I clear this up? Okay, my defense is that because of some illegal activities that took place, we had no other choice but to move.
No. I
Yes.
don't want to hear that.
Yes, we had to move out of the house within 2 weeks. We had told her we were selling the house because of what was going on. With the money that we had, we had to actually use a lot of money to leave the house when we shouldn't have had to leave the house.
Is that your defense?
We shouldn't have to.
Just a second. Is that your defense?
Well, yes.
That because of what you perceive to be some illegal activity that was going on in the house, you chose to move, which was a very good judgment, and you believe that your mother-in-law owes you money, the money that you had to spend to find a new place.
Right. That is included with the money that we spent with the mortgage. This is all tied together.
Well, so I'm going to eliminate your first defense. Your first defense is no defense. Now let's get to the mortgage payments that you say you made. Do you have any other checks?
And the only checks that I would use for the mortgage payments was the household account.
Okay, and who put money into the household account?
It was my wife, myself, and then my mother.
And your mother?
Yes.
Well, how much money did you put into the account?
And my brother.
Just a minute. How much money, and the $400, and how much money did you put into the account every month?
$1,900 a month I put into that account.
Now, my next question to you is the house was sold.
Actually, my son went and got a $20,000 loan that I didn't know about.
Loan for what? Against the house?
Yes.
Did you get a $20,000 loan against the house?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Did you pay it back?
I didn't have an opportunity to.
No, did you pay it back?
I was paying the loan back to the people that I got the loan from.
Did you put in any money towards the down payment?
Towards the down payment, no.
So she has $100,000 in down payment. Right.
Right.
Right? She has $100,000. You have Zippo. You can't offset. I mean, first of all, you can't offset it anyway, but it's not even reasonable to offset it. Because if your mother goes to sell the house now, there's a $20,000 loan that you took out that's going to be deducted from the sale price of that house. Did you consult with your mother before you took out this loan? Did she say it was okay?
I didn't need to. I didn't need her permission on that.
Well, you don't need her permission on this either. You
Well,
owe her $5,000. That's what you owe her. That's what you borrow. That's what you repay. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may stay.
23-year-old teacher Fernando Medrano is suing the mother of his child, 29-year-old store manager Florangel Reynoso, for the cost of a TV, a VCR, a trip to Florida, and a loan to fix her car. Florangel is countersuing for the cost of furniture and the cost of a bed for their son.
Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Medrano versus Reynoso.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Medrano, according to the complaint that I have read, the defendant was your girlfriend. You were together for about 1.5 years, and you have a child together. Is that right?
That's accurate.
How old is your child?
He's 3.
You claim that you made a series of small loans to the defendant, and in addition, she owes you for a VCR and television set or something that you put on your credit card. There was an agreement for her to pay you back. She paid you some, didn't pay the rest. You want the rest. The entire sum that she owes you, according to you, is $500. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant has a counterclaim, which I quite frankly don't understand. You'll explain it to me. All right, so tell me about these loans, sir. When did you make them and what were they for?
Well, there was $189 that was towards a trip to Florida that I had given her in cash. There was another $150 that fixed the car. There was something wrong with the brakes. And there was another $150 that she didn't pay me, refused to pay me for the TV and VCR that I had purchased for her on my credit card.
Oh. 189 trip to Florida. When was that?
That was approximately in July of last year.
Tell me about that.
Well, she said she wanted to go to Florida.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a joint checking account?
No.
You kept your money separate?
Definitely.
Who paid the rent?
She did.
Whose apartment was it?
It was hers.
Was it furnished when you moved in?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it was her furniture?
Yes.
Who paid the gas and electric?
Yes.
Who?
She did.
What did you pay for?
Well, different things such as the car and expenses, different things.
Well, so far I got the car.
Yeah. Basically the car, Your Honor, to tell you the truth. I maintained it and things like that.
Who bought the car?
It was her car.
You paid for the gas?
Mm-hmm.
You paid for the insurance?
No.
She paid for the insurance?
Yes.
So you paid for the gas. What else did you pay for?
There were repairs on the...
Well, the repairs, sir, you wanted to pay you back for $150. That was the second loan that you say you made to her.
There was more than one repair. Obviously, a car, needs repairs.
Oh, that was your
and
capital
maintenance.
contribution, taking care of the car, is that right? To this household?
Yes.
Perfect. Take care of it. So I've just knocked out your car repair loan. So let me hear about the trip to Florida. She wanted to go to Florida and?
And she spoke to me about it, and...
What did she say to you, and what did you say to her?
She said, well, I want to go to Florida, and I think that you should pay for it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, fine, that's great.
Great. So we just knock off the trip to Florida.
Yeah.
And I think you should pay for it, too.
That's great, but,
Good. Okay, that's great. Wonderful. Perfect. Now, $150 was for what?
It was for
VCR.
the television VCR.
And how much was the whole television VCR?
$439. However, we agreed that she would give me $500.
Why is that?
That's what she agreed. I didn't ask it for it. She.
So she agreed to give you a tip.
if you want to say that, yeah. If you'd like to say
a tip of
that.
$60. Okay. How much is left to pay on the TV VCR?
Approximately $150.
Show me. You kept the VCR, Miss Reynoso, is that right?
Yes.
And the TV?
Yes.
We'll get to you in a second. Oh. And you made some payments on this, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Tell me how come you stopped paying?
Well, he has a court order to pay me child support, which he hasn't done in a year.
Inaccurate.
When did you start paying child support, sir?
She had it on ever since I could remember, to be honest with you.
What do you mean, ever since?
Since the 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 years.
You mean while you were living together, you were paying child support?
I was trying to because I just graduated school and everything. Well,
I don't care trying. I want to know when you started to pay child support, sir.
I can't give you an exact date, Your Honor.
How much child support do you pay?
It's $60 a week, and I was paying that in sporadic payments because I was also paying for school.
So is it fair to say that you didn't make all your child support payments?
Yes.
Was it fair to say that, let's say you missed 3 payments?
More than that, Your Honor.
More than that?
Yes.
At least $150 worth of payments.
Yes. But the entire thing was I was going to take the money and send it back to her. So she would receive the money and it would bring down the arrears that I'm currently in.
When were you going to do that?
When I received the money.
And where were you going to get the money from?
From her.
For what?
For the $150 that she owed me. And
get a life. I have no idea what precipitated your bringing this lawsuit, sir. No idea at all. Somebody that owes a substantial amount of money in child support doesn't futz around with $150 that's owed on a TV VCR. You know, you'd find a rock to crawl under someplace, but you don't come out in the open and go into a court to sue for $150 to fix a car that was your sole responsibility while you lived together, $189 for a Florida trip that was clearly a gift when you made it to her.
She spent with her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, I should say.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fernando Medrano says the mother of his child, Florangel Reynoso, owes for a series of loans. Florangel says Fernando hasn't paid child support in over a year.
All right. Now, Ms. Reynoso, I'm going to hear about your counterclaim now. What's your counterclaim for?
$2,400.
For what?
When we were living together, we made an agreement that we were going to get new furniture. So I had asked him if it was a good time. My cousin wanted to buy the furniture off me, and if it was a good time to sell it to her. And I asked him quite a few times, and I said, are you sure you're going to get me new furniture? And he said yes. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. That never happened. He left in August, and my living room was empty. I had no furniture.
Get it back from your cousin. What else?
Then I asked him a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to get his son a bed because he's getting too big for the crib, and he refused.
So that's not a lawsuit. You asked him to get a bed, he said no. That's not a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
And that was it. And just clothes that I bought for Jaden since he doesn't help me in anything. But that was it.
Okay, so you know that that's all nonsense. Perfect. So I don't even have to address the fact that your counterclaim is nonsense. And I don't have to address the fact that your claim is nonsense. So your claim is nonsense, you get nothing, you get nothing. What you do get from me is a lecture. How old are you?
29.
And you?
23.
You have one child?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
Just one.
What kind of work do you do?
Substitute teacher.
Do you have a permanent teaching license?
No, that's not my field.
What's your field?
Criminal justice.
Shh. What do you want to do with a criminal justice degree?
I'm interested in going to law school. However, that's not in my reach, in my grasp right now. Trying to get finances together.
Who do you live with now?
I live with my mother.
No, you don't. Not all the time. I say that because there was a slight pause in your answer. I live with my mother. People who live with their mother say, I live at home. Is that your friend?
Long-time friend.
Good. Even he knows you don't live with your mother. Mr. Medrano, you make a baby, you have to support that child.
I agree.
And you can't say, I have things to pay for, I have school, I have other things. If you're a substitute teacher, that means when you're not substitute teaching, you have time. You can do a lot of things. You drive a taxi cab, you drive a livery, you do something to make money.
That's not what I graduated college for.
Oh, sir, I understand that. People do things that they don't necessarily enjoy doing and that they're not necessarily trained to do or aspire to do in the future when they have responsibilities. You created a responsibility, and if no other family court judge has said this to you directly, I'm going to tell you that it is unfair and irresponsible and long-term is going to be the worst mistake you ever made by not treating the responsibility two of you created as the most important responsibility you have right now. I have worked a lot of jobs that I wasn't trained to do because I had a family to take care of. My husband, for sure, did a lot of jobs because he had children to take care of. Part-time, nights, weekends. Because when you make children, it's your responsibility to see to it that they want for nothing. So grow up and get your act together. Your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Her suit was frivolous.
I thought the whole thing was ridiculous and we could have settled it at home.
People do anything, you know, to try to make you look bad and try to get money that they don't really deserve.
People should be responsible, and it's true, when they bring a kid into this world, they should take care of them.
And now the next case.
All parties on Moeller versus Stevens. Step forward, please.
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Moeller, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that we always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with the bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17.
So
I was
get a
16
job
at
and
the time.
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to my witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later.
Well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please. Brian.
Second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And There was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
I asked for the bill to fix
Yeah,
it.
you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill,
Yes, ma'am.
$106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just won.
Okay.
Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I understand.
A bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace. And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13,
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
When did that
what I
happen?
get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes. My
I'll
son.
hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through.
Did you poke a hole through the screen?
Uh-uh.
Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133. The counterclaims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
হ্যালো গাইজ, আপনারা সবাই কেমন আছেন? আশা করি আপনারা সবাই ভালো আছেন। সো আজকে আমরা যে বিষয়ে আলোচনা করব সেটি হচ্ছে ব্যাংক হিসাব পরিচালনা। তো আজকে আমরা যে বিষয়ে আলোচনা করব সেটি হচ্ছে ব্যাংক হিসাব পরিচালনা। গত পর্বে আমরা জেনেছি ব্যাংক হিসাব পরিচালনা বলতে ব্যাংক হিসাবে অর্থ জমা দেওয়া ও অর্থ উত্তোলনকে বোঝায়। সো গত পর্বে আমরা জেনেছি ব্যাংকে অর্থ জমা দেওয়ার নিয়ম। আজকে আমরা জানব ব্যাংক হতে অর্থ উত্তোলনের নিয়ম। চলতি ও সঞ্চয়ী হিসাবের গ্রহীতাদেরকে ব্যাংক অর্থ উত্তোলনের জন্য চেক বই প্রদান করে। সঞ্চয়ী হিসাব গ্রহীতাদেরকে সাধারণত 10 বা 20 পাতার চেক বই এবং চলতি হিসাবের হিসাব গ্রহীতাদেরকে প্রয়োজনে 25 বা 50 বা 100 পাতার চেক বই সরবরাহ করা হয়। সরবরাহকৃত চেকের পাতা যথাযথভাবে পূরণ করে ব্যাংক যথা নিয়মে উপস্থাপন করে ব্যাংক হতে অর্থ উত্তোলন করতে হয়। বাহককে চেকের অর্থ পরিশোধে ব্যাংক বাধ্য থাকে। সো আমরা জানতে পারলাম বাহকের অর্থ প্রদানে বাধ্য থাকে। সো তাই বাহক ও চেক সন্দেহমুক্ত না হলে ব্যাংক চেকের অর্থ প্রদান করে না। হুকুম চেকে প্রাপকের ঘরে যার নাম উল্লেখ থাকে ব্যাংক তাকেই চেকে অর্থ পরিশোধ করে। হুকুম চেকে ব্যাংকে যার নাম উল্লেখ থাকে ব্যাংক তাকে অর্থ প্রদান করে। এরূপ চেক অন্য ব্যাংকে উপস্থাপন করলে উপস্থাপনকারীর পক্ষে প্রাপকের লিখিত অনুমোদন বা যথাযথ পৃষ্ঠাঙ্কন থাকতে হয়। দাগ কাটা চেকের অর্থ প্রাপকের ব্যাংক হিসাবে চেক জমা দিয়ে গ্রহণ করতে হয়। সো গ্রাহকের চেক বা হুকুম চেক ব্যাংক কাউন্টারে উপস্থাপন করা হলে চেক গ্রহণপূর্বক ব্যাংক কর্মীগণ পিতলের চাকতি বা টোকেন প্রদান করেন। এ টোকেনের নম্বর ব্যাংক কর্মী চেকের উপর লিখে দেয়। সো আমরা জানতে পারলাম আজকে কিভাবে আমরা ব্যাংক থেকে টাকা উত্তোলন করতে পারবো।